His world had shrunk to a pit of despair and the stink of fear. He saw a sea of misery, 100 souls clad in rags that barely deserved the name. Iron bit into flesh, raw brands screaming their ownership to any who cared to look. Some whispered as if their pitiful words could ward off the horror to come. But most stared up at that monstrosity of metal, that ziggurat that promised nothing but pain. The boy's eyes caught every detail, every scratch, every dent in those iron steps. 1,000 stories of suffering etched into cold metal. The roar of the crowd crashed over them like a wave of bloodlust, contained only by high stone walls that felt more like the lid of a coffin than any kind of protection. And then there were the spheres, twisted little things, man-sized nightmares buzzing overhead like overgrown flies. They chattered in the tongue of the slavers, but where those brutes had voices like gravel, these things, they sounded like nothing so much as preening courtiers, arguing over the best cuts of meat at a feast. Horns blared, and the crowd lost what passed for its mind. Cheers erupted, a sound of pure distilled bloodlust that made the boy's stomach churn. But that was nothing compared to what came next. The vents opened. Gods, the vents opened. It came in a torrent, this foul liquid that reeked of death and worse things. It rushed across the floor, steaming and hissing, promising agony with every inch it claimed. The fumes alone were enough to make the boy's eyes water, his throat close up in protest. This, then, was to be their fate. Drowned in filth for the amusement of monsters who thought themselves men. The boy tasted fear, sharp and metallic on his tongue. But underneath, buried deep where even the slavers' brands couldn't reach, there was something else. Rage. Pure, unfiltered rage. The first scream ripped through the air. A woman, her foot touched by that unholy brew, flesh sizzling like meat on a spit. And just like that, the show had begun. They scramble, these wretches in rags, clawing their way onto the first step of that iron behemoth. The floor vanishes beneath a sea of liquid torment, leaving the ziggurat an island in a storm of pain. But it's a shrinking refuge, each step disappearing beneath the rising tide of torment. At first, there's a flicker of something almost human. They help each other, these damned souls, hauling their fellows higher as the water claims step after bloody step. Their screams rise up, a chorus of suffering hurled at the baying crowd and those silver orbs. Maggots' eyes, they call them, lenses whirring as they feast on our misery. The vents keep spewing their toxic bile, even after they're swallowed by their own creation. The ziggurat shrinks, its edges sinking into the ravenous pool below. Space becomes precious, more valuable than gold or breath itself. They pack together, these doomed cattle, shoulder to shoulder, chest to back, a writhing mass of desperation. The metal slick with sweat and blood and things best left unnamed. One wrong move, one slip. High above the pit of despair, Magistrate Volk leans forward, his corpulent body straining against silks, his jowls quiver with excitement, eyes gleaming like a pig's before the slaughter. "Oh, this is exquisite," he purrs, voice thick with pleasure. "Tullus, you've outdone yourself this time." Beside him, Tullus, the games master, preens. He's a slip of a man, all angles and nervous energy. His body never stops moving, fingers drumming, foot tapping, head tilting this way and that like a bird eyeing its prey. But those eyes, they're as still as a corpse. His clothes are immaculate, cut from cloth so fine it's whispered to have been woven from moonlight. Tullus licks his lips, a quick dart of tongue that speaks of anticipation rather than nerves. His voice, when he speaks, is a velvet whisper that somehow cuts through the roar of the crowd. "You're too kind, magistrate," he simpers, even as his gaze darts hungrily back to the spectacle below. "Watch closely now, my friends, it's about to get interesting." A woman to Vok's left leans in, her face a mask of perfectly applied cosmetics. "How so, darling?" she asks, voice syrupy with false sweetness. Tullus grins, a skeletal parody of mirth. "Watch the big one there, near the bottom. He's about to—" The crowd's roar drowns out his words, but they all see it. The moment when desperation overcomes humanity, the instant a man becomes a monster. "Magnificent," breathes the woman, her pupils dilated with sick joy. "Simply magnificent." Vok nods, meaty fingers curled around an exquisite goblet of wine. "It never ceases to amaze me," he muses, "how quickly they turn on each other, like animals." "But that's the point, isn't it?" Tullus interjects, practically vibrating with glee, "to remind them, and us, of what they truly are, what we all are beneath the veneer of civilization." The woman laughs, a tinkling sound at odds with the carnage below. "Oh, Tullus, you philosopher! Next you'll be telling us the gods themselves watch our little amusements with envy." They share a chuckle at that, these masters of men's fates, and then the first one falls. The scream that escaped the pit silenced even this jaded crowd. For a moment, just a moment, something like doubt flickered across Vok's face, but it's gone in an instant, replaced by a hunger that has nothing to do with food. "Now," he growls, leaning so far forward he's in danger of toppling from his seat. "Now it truly begins." Down in the cheap seats, where the stench of sweat mingles with sour beer and vomit, the rabble of Nuceria press against each other like sardines in a tin. Here there's no silk or perfume, just rough cloth and the reek of desperation. Garga the tanner leans forward, his scarred hands gripping the stone barrier. His eyes, rheumy from years of chemical fumes, are fixed on the horror below. "By the gods," he mutters, "I've never seen the likes of this." Beside him, Mera snorts. She's a tavern wench, her face lined with hard years and harder men. "You ain't seen nothing yet, old man. Wait till they really start tearing into each other." A boy, no more than 12, pipes up from Mera's other side. "Is it true what they say, that the water's magic, that it can melt a man's bones?" Mera cuffs him, not gently. "Shut it, you little shit! It ain't magic, it's worse!" But before she can say more, a gnarled hand clamps down on her shoulder. It belongs to Krull, a man with eyes that gleam with a feverish light. "Let the boy watch," Krull growls. "Let him see what real sport looks like." Krull pushes himself forward, practically hanging over the barrier as he watches the spectacle below. "Look there," he crows, pointing as the first slave falls. "See how he thrashes, like a fish on a hook." The crowd surges, nearly lifting Garga off his feet. Someone's elbow catches him in the ribs, but he barely notices. He's transfixed by the sight before him. "Sweet mercy," he breathes, the words lost in the roar of the crowd. Mera laughs, a harsh, joyless sound. "Mercy? There's no mercy here, just justice." The boy's eyes are wide, his face pale. But they didn't do nothing wrong, did they?" Something like doubt flickers in Mera's eyes. but then it's gone, replaced by a hardness that speaks of too many years seeing too much shit. They're slaves, boy, criminals, animals. This is what they deserve. As the slaughter below reaches its peak, Krull's excitement grows. Eyes wild, hands clenching and unclenching as if he wishes he were down there himself. "Yes!" he screams, his voice adding to the already hysterical sound enveloping them. "Tear those fuckers apart! Rip 'em limb from limb!" Spittle flying from his lips as he leans even further over the barrier. "Look at that one there. See how his skin's sloughing off? Like a snake shedding, but all meat underneath." Krull's laughter turns into a hacking cough, flecks of blood spattering his chin. But he doesn't seem to notice or care. "Oh, if only I could be down there. I'd show 'em how it's done. I'd wear their fucking entrails as a necklace." With the crowd's roar reaching a fever pitch and the stench of death rising from below, Krull looks less like a man and more like some ancient god of slaughter, reveling in the carnage offered up to him. The first one falls. Gods, the screams. They claw at the boy's ears, drill into his skull like rusted nails. He's heard pain before, sure. Who hasn't? But this is pure agony given voice. The crowd erupts, transforms into a wall of sound, pressing down, reveling in the sight of a man boiling away to nothing, bit by bit, scream by endless scream. And just like that, something vital, yet intangible breaks. The absolute quiet that follows is worse than the screams. It's the silence of a storm about to rain down fire, of predators eyeing their prey. These people, these poor fuckers who moments ago were kin in suffering, now look at each other with new eyes, cold eyes, calculating eyes. They're not people anymore. They're obstacles, lumps of meat standing between life and death. The boy can smell it, sharp and acrid beneath the stench of the acid. Panic, raw and primal. 5 steps from the top, and humanity takes its final bow. They turn on each other like rabid dogs. Screams rise again, but these are different. Rage and desperation and the sick, wet sounds of flesh tearing flesh. Some try to climb, scrambling up like rats fleeing a sinking ship, but there's always someone below, ready to drag them down into the hell they're trying to escape. The boy watches it all, sees how quickly the veneer of civilization strips away, leaving nothing but the snarling beast beneath. All set to the music of that fucking crowd, cheering and stomping like this is the greatest show they've ever seen. And maybe it is. The death of hope, the birth of monsters, all in one neat little package. The acid laps at the boy's feet now. He can feel the heat of it, smell the promise of dissolution, but he doesn't move. Not yet. He's learning, you see. Learning what it truly means to survive in a world that wants nothing more than to see you suffer. The boy stands, an island of calm in a sea of madness. He's stronger than he has any right to be, this slip of a child. Grown men, their eyes wild with fear, try to drag him down. The rage builds inside him, a living thing clawing at his guts. It would be so easy to give in, to let the monster out. He can see it, clear as day. How to snap this one's neck, crush that one's windpipe, send another tumbling into the acid bath below. His body aches to do it, every instinct screaming for blood. Each splash, each scream as another hits the water. It's like a knife in his skull. He doesn't understand it, this pain that isn't his own. It builds, and builds, a storm of agony behind his eyes, made worse by the hands that claw at him, the teeth that tear his flesh. He fights, but not the way they expect. He fights the pit, the acid, the whole fucking world that's brought them to this. He uses just enough strength to keep his footing, to stay alive without sending others to their death. It's a dance on the edge of a blade, and with each step, it cuts deeper. 100 went in. Now, a dozen remain. One step left, barely wide enough for a single soul to stand. Below them, a sea of pink sludge that used to be human. The stench. There are no words for it. Half the survivors fight with puke dripping from their chins. The other half wish they could empty their guts just to feel something else. A skull bobs to the surface, flesh melting away like candle wax. Empty sockets stare up at the boy, a grim reminder of what awaits. There's nowhere left to run, nowhere left to hide. He looks at the men around him, men who might have been friends in another life. "I'm sorry," he whispers, words inaudible in the torrent of the crowd and the screams of the dying. The boy becomes death, but a merciful one, if such a thing exists. He moves with grace, each step precise, each blow calculated. Necks snap with sickening cracks, skulls cave in with wet thuds. He's not fighting to win anymore. He's fighting to end this as quickly and cleanly as he can. But mercy, even in slaughter, has its price. Again and again, he teeters on the edge of oblivion, choosing the harder path when a simple shove would suffice. The acid below hungers for him, lapping at his heels, promising an end to all this. But he denies it, denies himself, for the sake of strangers who'd see him dead. The last one's a monster of a man, all muscle and madness. His fists are sledgehammers against the boy's flesh, each blow threatening to send him tumbling. Blood flows freely, but whose? It doesn't matter anymore. Nothing matters but ending this. In a moment of pure animal instinct, the boy forgets his mercy. He wrenches the brute down, and the air fills with a sound no living thing should make. The man's lower half vanishes into the pink sludge, flesh sloughing off bone in seconds. But his torso, his arms, his screaming face, they remain. Clawing at the boy's legs, eyes wild with pain beyond comprehension. This is suffering distilled, horror given flesh. Tears stream down the boy's face, cutting clean tracks through the blood and filth. He wants to look away, wants to cover his ears, but he can't. He owes this man, this victim of his mercy, that much at least. With a final brutal kick, he sends the remnants of the man into the acid. The screams continue, bubbling up through the muck until finally, silence. The liquid stops rising, a hair's breadth from the final step. The boy stands, shaking, his skin a canvas of scratches and acid burns. He looks up, the last man standing in this pit of hell, and the crowd, oh, the crowd goes fucking wild. The maggot's eyes descend. Their speakers crackle to life, and the boy half expects to hear the voice of whatever passes for a god in this place. "Behold!" they screech, all pomp and no circumstance. "People of Deshia, your coin has bought you blood and spectacle. We give you the victor of the devil's tears." One of the eyes clunks, its voice sour. House Thalka claims the prize. "House Thalka," another grumbles, like the name tastes bad. "Of course." "Well then, boy, what do they call you?" Silence. The boy stares, eyes wide as saucers, in a face too young for the horrors it's seen. A prod extends, kissing his skin with electricity. Answer, whelp. Still nothing. The eyes retreat a fraction, as if even they can sense the danger coiled in this child's frame. Nameless, is it? How quaint. Where did you find this little savage? Alone, atop the northern mountains. Ah, the perilous heights, where cold winds and driven snow mask a volcano's fury. How fitting. The eye closest to the boy whirs. We name thee Angron then, child of the mountain in the old tongue. Behold, Deshia, Angron Thalker, your newest toy. Soon he'll dance for you on the red sands. But whose blood will flow, his or his enemies? Pay up if you want to find out. The boy, Angron now, though the name sits on him like an ill-fitting coat, feels something stir in his chest. His lips tremble, and for the first time, words form on his tongue. They come out ragged and raw. This is game? The eyes swarm like flies on a corpse. Their metallic buzz, a mockery of life. Ah, it speaks. Pay up, Durhan. Not such a simpleton after all. Again, little beast, place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. What pearls of wisdom will our savage spew next? But Angron's done with words. He lunges, snatching the nearest eye from the air. The others scatter like startled birds, but this one he's got. The orb sputters, dragging Angron off his feet. He dangles over the pit of dissolved humanity, one wrong move from joining the soup below. The crowd leans in, breath held, waiting to see if their new toy will break before the game's even begun. Angron snarls, a sound no child should make. He pulls himself up, trying to force the metal bastard down by sheer will and rage. Then the world goes white. Electricity courses through him, setting every nerve alight. His fingers betray him, releasing their grip. The eye twists, hurling him back onto the ziggurat like a discarded doll. The crowd's disappointment is palpable. They wanted blood, and all they got was a show of defiance. Coins change hands as bets are settled, and the arena begins to empty. Passion, the eye crows, zapping Angron again for good measure. There's fight in you yet. It hovers close until its lenses are all Angron can see. 100 reflections of his own battered face stare back at him. That's good, Angron Thalker. You'll need every ounce of that strength. Because what we have waiting for you, the eye's voice drops, a conspirator's whisper. It'll make this look like a childish game. Krull is basically a drooling maniac at this point, his eyes bulging as he watches the boy kick the last poor bastard into the acid. Did you see that? He screams, spittle flying. Did you fucking see that? The way the flesh just melted off, like butter in a hot pan. He turns to Mera, grabbing her arm with bruising force. Tell me you saw it, woman. Mera tries to pull away, disgust warring with a sick fascination on her face. I saw it, Krull. We all saw it. Now let go before I rip your dick off. But Krull's beyond hearing. He's transfixed by the lone figure standing atop the ziggurat. Look at him, he breathes, a note of awe in his voice. Just a boy, and he's outlasted them all. Gaga, the old tanner, shakes his head. It ain't right, he mutters. Ain't natural for a child to— Natural? Krull barks out a laugh. Fuck natural! This is power, old man. Raw, unbridled power. He puffs out his chest, a gleam of madness in his eyes. I could take him, you know. Give me 5 minutes in that pit and I'd show that little shit what a real man can do. Mera snorts. You'd be melted to goo before you took 2 steps. Krul rounds on her, his face twisted in a snarl. You think I'm weak, woman? I've killed more men than that boy's seen hot meals. I'd tear him apart with my bare hands. The boy who'd been watching silently finally speaks up, his voice small but steady. But he's just a kid, like me. For a moment, silence falls over their little group. Even Krul seems taken aback, as if suddenly reminded of the horror they've all been cheering for. But then the moment passes, and his face hardens again. No, that ain't no kid. That's a weapon. And mark my words, we'll be seeing a lot more of him in the games to come. He leans forward again, eyes fixed on the boy in the pit. You hear that, you little monster? He shouts, though his voice is lost amidst 1,000 other voices like his. You and me, we've got a date with destiny, and when it comes, I'll show you what real killing looks like. As the crowd begins to disperse, Krul remains, his eyes never leaving the figure of Angron. In his mind, he's already in the pit, already proving his worth against this new champion. Little does he know, fate has other plans. For him, for Angron, for all of Nuceria. Listen close. This tale's about to plunge into depths so dark, you'll be begging for the light. The first chapter of this grim saga is yours to devour, no strings attached. A generous fool am I. But make no mistake, it only gets bloodier from there. 6 more chapters lie in wait, each more damning than the last. 3 hours of brutal truth that'll strip the scales from your eyes and leave you raw. The powers that be, they're gnashing their teeth over this one. Their lapdogs are howling, desperate to bury what we've unearthed. Too dangerous, they whimper, the stink of their fear fouling the air. If they had their way, every scrap of this tale would be ash on the wind. So we're doing what any sane folk would do, locking away the remaining 6 parts of this cursed story. But for those of you with coin to spare and a thirst for bitter truths, well, you know the drill. Toss your silver into our beggar's bowl and we'll drag you deeper into the muck. The choice is yours, friends. Take that first step for nothing. But know this, once you start, you'll be back tomorrow, and the next day, and the next, hungry for more. Ready to see how deep the rabbit hole goes? Your week in hell starts now. Filth and noise, grunts and curses. My nostrils flare, drinking in the reek of it all. Forge fires, shit, blood, and the sour stench of fear sweating out of 100 unwashed bodies. Home, sweet home. I blink, focus swimming back. There's a battered iron helm in my hands. Looks like it's been chewed up and shat out by some metal-eating beast, hammered back into shape by a drunk with a grudge against anything resembling craftsmanship. Oi, you gonna stare at that all day? A voice calls out. I look up, met by a chest more scar than skin. He reaches out with a mailed fist, snatches the helm from me. This here, old Kunaglas wore this pot last, he says, grinning with more gaps than teeth. His fingers scrape along the inside, and I watch as he peels away a handful of hair and scalp, still wet with whatever was left of Kunaglas. He die, not well, not quick, the gladiator continues. Pray his shade gone. You avoid the same. He pauses, then adds with a sneer, Boy, the way you gawp, though, your chances ain't good. I seen that look before. Death is waiting for you, out there. The helm comes flying back at my face. I catch it. Barely. Our friend lumbers off, chomping down on poor dead Kunaglas's leavings like they're some delicacy. "Oi, new meat!" Another voice, harsh and mocking. "Best get that on quick, unless you want your brains decorating the sand before you even see it." I turn, seeing a wiry man with a face like a kicked dog. He's already strapping on mismatched pieces of armor, a mad gleam in his eyes. "Name's Grix," he spits. "Stick close to me if you want to last more than a heartbeat out there." Around us, the metal monsters clank and whir, walking machines with lightning dancing from the tips of their prods. One false move and your muscles do a merry jig without you. They've herded us up from the caves like animals into this anteroom, dark as a grave, with tunnels leading in and out. Nothing but a table and racks of rust masquerading as weapons and armor. The smart ones, the ones who've danced this dance before, they're already moving, snatching up the least bent axes, the tridents that might last more than 2 swings. They snarl and snap at each other, fighting over scraps of mail to cover what they can of their bodies. The caves had been my world since the Devil's Tears. Now, thrust into this pit of chains and desperation, I'm a stranger in a strange land. By the time I reach the table, vultures have picked it clean. All that's left is this piss-poor excuse for a helmet. I pull it on, the stench of its last owner's death filling my nostrils. The metal monsters start squawking, their master's tongue still mostly gibberish to my ears. But 2 words cut through, clear as a knife. Hot dust. Before I can puzzle it out, they're forming up behind us, a wall of crackling prods herding us forward like cattle. At the tunnel's end looms a door that'd make a giant feel small. The machines keep us moving with jabs that promise agony, shoving us toward that towering portal. I'm caught in the crush, just another piece of meat in this tangle of desperation and steel. As we stumble deeper, the very ground seems alive. Vibrations crawl up through my feet into my bones. Sound follows, muffled but growing. Drums, I think at first. Then I realize it's drums and screaming, the music of the damned. Dust and sand rain down, trickling through the cracks above. Around me, others start roaring, pounding chests, slamming heads together in a symphony of battered metal and broken minds. Through the warped visor of this curse I'm wearing, I see it. The great doors swinging wide, vomiting light and noise. A face turns back to me, gap-toothed and ugly as sin. It's the fucker from before, grinning like death itself. "Die well," he says, as if there's any other option in this hellhole. We burst into the light, the arena again, where the Devil's Tears burn their way into my soul. But the pyramid's gone, along with any trace of that liquid hell. All that's left is a bowl of earth, baked harder than a whore's heart, cracked and dusted with grit that'd scour the skin off your bones. The crowd. More bodies than I've ever seen. Packed so tight you couldn't slip a blade between them. They fill the seats like maggots, writhing and screaming for blood. Their voices whip up the dust, and I can taste their hunger. It's a living thing, that bloodlust, and it wants to feed. The poor bastard next to me doesn't even get to blink. 1 second he's standing, the next he's painting my face red with his lifeblood. I stumble back, half blind, as his corpse hits the ground. The strongest of us, they're moving already, cutting down the weak, the poorly armed, culling the herd before the real slaughter begins. A roar. And suddenly there's an axe swinging for my head, but it's slow, I sidestep it like I'm dodging a punch thrown in a dream. 3 more strikes follow, each one as clumsy as a cripple scrabbling in the mud. I can see it in his eyes. The fear, the fatigue already sapping his strength. Sweats turning him into a walking statue, dust caking his skin. There's a voice in my head, a whisper of instinct older than time. It tells me to wait, to let him overreach, to let the dance play out. I strike. One moment my fist's at my side, the next it's buried in his chest. Bone gives way like rotten wood, a symphony of snaps and cracks. His last breath wheezes out, eyes wide with the sudden realization that he's already dead. I pull back, leaving a crater where his heart used to be, and he crumples like a puppet with cut strings. The axe comes free easily enough. His fingers are still twitching, trying to hold on to something, anything. But there's no mercy here, no second chances. I spin, just in time to catch a spiked maul on the axe's haft. The impact jars up my arms, but I'm already moving, already killing. The crowd's a distant thing now. Yet I feel their bloodlust like a physical thing, pressing against my back, urging me on. Every time the axe bites deep, every time another body hits the dust, that heat flares. They swallow, getting fat on our pain. Blood trickles down my chest, my arms, drips from my chin in a steady patter. Each life I take, each skull I split, I feel it. The shock of impact, the resistance as steel meets bone. Then that sudden give as death claims another victim. But there's something else, a deep gnawing ache in my chest. It grows with every kill, a black tide of pain that threatens to drown me. Is this what it feels like to lose your soul, one bloody chunk at a time? I bare my teeth in a crimson grin. Let it come. I'll kill them all. In this pit of sand and blood, there's only one rule that matters. Survive. The last of them goes down, skidding through dust hot enough to fry an egg. He's weaponless, cursing like his life depends on it. Maybe it does. I tower over him, feeling the fear rolling off him in waves. It's the gap-toothed one from before. He who wished me well in dying. Funny how things work out. I hesitate. Cold steel kisses my gut, sliding home like it belongs there. Pain blooms a heartbeat later, a flower of agony unfurling in my belly. But it's the anger that really wakes me up. It comes roaring in like a tidal wave, drowning everything else. My foot connects, sending him sprawling. I yank the knife free, toss it aside. It's nothing. A bee sting. The crowd's mindless howl coalesces into something with meaning. My name on thousands of bloodthirsty lips. Angron! 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 The axe in my hand feels right. Like it grew there, an extension of my rage made steel. Any doubt, any hesitation, it's all gone now. My blood sings in my ears, a war drum driving me on. I raise the axe. But the world shifts. Blackness boils up from the ground like tar from hell itself. It swallows me whole, reality unraveling like a cheap tunic. I'm coming apart at the seams, my sense of self scatterings to the four winds. It's oblivion. It's madness. It's gone. The arena vanishes like smoke on the wind. I'm left grasping at nothing, adrift in a sea of fractured memories and half-formed nightmares. If I'd been born on Terra, they tell me I'd be 10 years old today. 10. And yet, I've killed more men than I can care to count, and I'm probably just getting started. Every time I step onto these cursed sands, I feel their eyes on me, watching, wondering. I can smell their fear, their awe. I'm growing, you see. Not like a normal boy. No, I am different. When others break, I stay on my feet. A blade slicing through your entrails is enough to kill any man here. Yet I heal in days. They toss me weapons, thinking it'll give the others a chance. The moment steel touches my palm, it's like I've been born to wield it. My mind works faster than I can understand, seeing moves before they're made, countering strikes that haven't even been thought of yet. But the killing, it was different that first time. That was survival. That was right, somehow. But this endless parade of death, it's meaningless, senseless. We bleed, most die, and then what? Every life I take, I feel it. A little piece of me dies with them. I think I'm bleeding out, same as those I'm gutting. But my wounds don't show. They're deeper, in places the crowd can't see, can't even imagine. They scream for blood, these people of Nuceria. They howl like beasts, demanding more, always more. But I know the truth. It will never be enough. They could drown in our blood, and still they'd beg for another drop. In the quiet moments, when the screams fades and I'm left alone with the ghosts of those I've killed, I wonder, how long before there's nothing left of me? How many more must I send to the grave before I become the very monster they cheer for? Killing gets easier. Time has a way of wearing you down. I have adopted the other gladiators' outlook. It's easier that way. Gotta find meaning somewhere in this pit of shit and blood. Might as well be here. I twist my mind until the jeers of the crowd sound like worship. Their bloodlust becomes my purpose. I don't hate them anymore, can't afford to. That hatred, I save it all for the maggot's eyes. The fights become something else. A dance, maybe. There's respect in it if you squint hard enough. We're all in this mess together, ain't we? Might as well make it mean something, anything. I throw everything I have into each bout. Anything less would be an insult. When it's a death match, when I'm standing over some cooling corpse I've just gutted, there's a kind of honor in it. I'm sending them off proper, you know, a warrior's death. It's the best I can give them before they drag me back to the caves in chains. But there's a part of me, a secret, shameful little corner of my mind that I don't like to look at too closely. It envies the dead. They're done, you see. No more fights, no more pain, no more high riders or maggot's eyes or hot dust grinding them down. They're free in a way I can never be. Alone in the dark, I wonder what that freedom tastes like. But then the gates crash open again, and there's no more time for wondering. There's only the fight, the blood, the screams. Death ain't always on the menu. The high riders, for all their cruelty, ain't complete fucking idiots. Can't bleed your stock dry if you want the games to keep going. Sure, on the holy days the arena drinks deep, but most times it's about the show. You yield, you live. Simple as that. We trade twists in our ropes, marks of respect between warriors. It's something, at least. My rope, red as the sand I spill blood on. No one's come close to putting me down, but when I give out those black twists, it ain't with a sneer. It's respect, honor, Through pain and blood we forge a family. Today, I'm back on the sand. A dozen of us, brothers and a few sisters in chains, waiting for the slaughter to start. Yesterday we fought machines, but this is new. It's just a woman. More like a scarecrow, really. Skin and bones draped in rags, flinching from the light like it burns. There's a collar on her neck, buzzing like an angry hornet. There's something off about her. Something that makes my gut churn and my bones ache. What the fuck is this, I ask. One of my brothers shakes his head, his armor rattling. I don't! And then it happens. The air changes. Gets a smell I can't place. Cold creeps in, which ain't right. This is an oven, not an icebox. But there it is. Frost spreading from her feet like death's fingers. Rin, he's closest to her. And that's when I feel it. A sense I know too well, one that's kept me alive through all this shit. Danger, pure, unfiltered danger. I open my mouth to warn him, but it's too late. Always too fucking late in this world. Witch! Rin screams. And that's the last coherent thing he'll ever say. His head snaps back, jaw stretching wide, wider than any human mouth should go. I hear the wet tearing of flesh, the crack of bone. Suddenly, Rin's looking at the ground behind him, his skull nearly split in two. Blood squirts from his throat like some sick parody of a fountain. He should be dead. Any sane world, he'd be dead. But this ain't a sane world, is it? The woman is holding him up with nothing but her mind. Her hand reaches out, flames weeping from her fingertips like tears from hell itself. She opens her hand. Rin explodes. There's no other word for it. One moment he's there, the next he's everywhere. I feel bits of him pelting my skin, little pieces of bone embedding themselves into my flesh. All that's left of him is blood on the sand. But it ain't random. No, it's a symbol. Something my eyes can see but my mind refuses to understand. Looking at it, it hurts like someone's taken a hot poker to my brain. Before I can even process what I've just seen, another scream rips through the air. One of my brothers. I can't even tell who anymore. His skin's coming off, just peeling away like he's some grotesque fruit being prepared for a feast. The witch lifts him, spinning him in the air like a child's toy. Blood rains down and I can hear his bones shattering. By the time she lets him drop, he's nothing but a sack of meat and pain. She just boiled 3 more of my brothers alive, just fucking melted them where they stood, but it's taking its toll. She drops to one knee, sweat gleaming on skin that looks like it might tear if you breathed on it too hard. Blood leaks from her eyes like crimson tears. That collar, it buzzes. She screams, "Gods, what a sound!" And suddenly she's up again, purple fire dancing on her fists. The edges of the world go fuzzy. Pain does that, I've learned. Blurs everything until all you've got left is the agony and the desperate need to make it stop. I'm the last one standing. Me, Angron, Lord of the Red Sands. What a joke. My family, my brothers and sisters in chains, they're gone. No glory in their deaths, no honor, just fear and pain, and that final, blessed darkness as their bodies gave out under torments no human was meant to endure. I can see it in her face, though. The witch. She doesn't want this. Every death is carved into her features like the brands on our skin. The sounds she makes. They ain't the cries of a killer reveling in slaughter. They're the sounds of someone in a cage, being poked and prodded until they lash out. I know those sounds. Made 'em myself, not 3 months past, when they threw me in with that huntsman and his dogs, made me kill 'em all with my bare hands. She's just like us, ain't she? Another toy for the high riders to break, another soul ground under their heels for sport. But knowing that don't change a damn thing, because now it's just her and me, and one of us ain't walking out of this pit alive. Sympathy? Fuck sympathy. After what she's done, there's only one thing left in my gut. Hate. Pure distilled hate that screams for her tainted blood. The sand crunches under my feet, frosted over like some twisted winter wonderland. I raise my axe, ready to end this nightmare. But her eyes flash, and suddenly I'm holding nothing but snowflakes. The cold bites deep, throws me off. I stumble. Then my mind catches fire. It's agony beyond anything I've known, matching the flames eating my flesh. But I push through it. I grab her, those bird-bone shoulders, that pale throat. We hit the ground hard, the flames roaring higher. I can smell my own blood cooking, see the white of bone peeking through charred meat that used to be my arms. My fingers slip on that damn collar, slick with blood and melted skin, but I don't let go. Can't let go. She stops fighting at some point. Don't know when. Her skin's like ice now, like trying to strangle a statue. But I can feel it inside her. That power she never asked for, never controlled. The misery it's brought her, brought everyone unlucky enough to cross her path. And then, cutting through the fire in my skull, a word. No, not even a word. The idea of one. Please. I scream. Scream until my throat tears, and I bring her head down on the frozen sand. Again, until there's nothing left but pulp and bone. The fire in my head vanishes the moment she dies, leaving me hollow, empty. I scramble back, watching as her body crumbles to ash, like she's being eaten from the inside out by invisible flames. All that's left is that collar, buzzing away in the sand like nothing happened. And inside me, there's a new scar forming, raw, bleeding, the kind that'll never heal right, no matter how many years pass. I stand there covered in blood, mine, hers, my dead family's, and I know. This is just another day in the pits, just another show for the high riders. But something has changed, something has broken, and I ain't sure if it's the world or me. Probably both. Cruel stood transfixed, his knuckles white as he gripped the barrier. His eyes, wide and feverish, never left the figure of Angron in the arena below. "By all the hells," he muttered, voice hoarse from screaming, "would you look at that?" The boy, no, the man, Angron, was something else entirely. Cruel had watched him grow, fight after bloody fight, but this was beyond anything he could have imagined. That witch bitch had turned Angron's comrades into nothing more than red mist and broken bones. Cruel had seen grown men piss themselves and run from less. But Angron? He charged in like death itself couldn't stop him. Cruel's fingernails dug into his palms, drawing blood. He welcomed the pain. It kept him sharp, kept him in the moment, and he didn't want to miss a second of this. When the axe turned to snow in Angron's hands, Cruel felt his heart stop for a moment. But then Angron was on the witch, all muscle and fury and unstoppable will. "That's it, boy! Adios, you fucking bitch! Krull found himself screaming, spittle flying from his lips. The flames engulfed Angron, and Krull could smell burning flesh from where he stood. It turned his stomach, but he couldn't look away. Would not look away. This, he realized, was what it meant to be a real warrior, a true champion of the arena. When it was over, when the witch was nothing but ash on the wind, Krull realized he'd been holding his breath. He let it out in a rush, feeling light-headed, almost giddy. "Did you see that?" He grabbed the nearest spectator, shaking them roughly. "Did you fucking see what he did? That was incredible!" But he couldn't tear his eyes from Angron for long. The gladiator stood there, a titan wreathed in blood and victory. And in that moment, Krull knew. He knew he could never take Angron. Not in 100 years, not with 1,000 tricks up his sleeve. But he didn't care anymore. Those dreams of personal glory were dead and gone. These days he was just here for the feast. And when Angron was on the menu, well, things were always good, always bloody, always satisfying in a way that made Krull's teeth ache and his blood sing. Today had brought something very special to the table. Gory? Brutal? Those words didn't even begin to cover the reality Krull had just witnessed. The sheer, extraordinary violence had surprised even him, a man who thought he'd seen it all. That bitch had been formidable, beyond anything Angron had faced before, beyond anything Krull had ever seen in the arena. For a moment, he'd actually thought, but no, what a naive fool he'd been. Angron hadn't even flinched as the flesh on his arms melted away. He just kept coming, unstoppable, unbreakable. Krull shook his head in disbelief. What kind of being could endure such treatment and just keep going? The witch's death played over and over in Krull's mind, a symphony of violence that he'd replay in his dreams for weeks to come. Watching Angron brought out the best in him, Krull thought, a feverish grin splitting his face. He always felt inspired after watching that raw strength rip lesser warriors to pieces. Months passed in a blur of blood and sand. The crowd screamed my name. They loved me. If only they could see the hatred festering in my gut, the plans I wove with every swing of my blade. I tried to run again and again, failed every fucking time. But still I plotted, still I dreamed of freedom. Enomaus and I had grown close in those days. The old man became not a father. I'd gut any man who called him that. But a mentor, a friend, if killers like us could have such luxuries. Together we painted the arena red, a beautiful, terrible dance of death that culminated in our greatest triumph. 2 Angron, hulking beasts with minds of children and the butcher's nails turning their brains to mush. We stood victorious, bathed in gore, as the crowd howled our names. Victory. It tasted sweet for all of a heartbeat before turning bitter. We stood there, Enomaus and I. For one glorious moment, we were gods. Then the High Riders spoke. Pompous, soft-skinned fucks, the lot of them, draped in silks that cost more than our lives, perfumed to mask the stench of their corruption. They peered down from their gilded boxes, bejeweled fingers wrapped around goblets of wine, and what did these magnanimous bastards decree? That Enomaus and I should dance for them one last time. A final performance, a grand spectacle to cap off their day of entertainment. To the death. I looked at Enomaus then, saw the resignation in his eyes. How many times had we fought side by side? How much blood had we spilled together for their entertainment? And now they wanted us to spill each other's. Didn't matter how many tons of flesh and bone my blades carved through, it was never going to be enough. They wanted more, always more. They demanded it. I could taste the bile rising in my throat, feel the rage building like a storm. We'd given them everything, our strength, our skill, our very souls. Yet there we stood, being asked for the very thing we could not grant, our lives. I told them where to shove it, in colorful detail. Their response? The butcher's nails. They held me down. I felt every hammer blow as they drove them into my skull, tasting copper and madness with each impact. The nails burrowed deep, grafting themselves to the very core of me. The nails fed on rage, rewarding the bearer with spikes of pleasure that made everything else bleak in comparison. No better tool for slaughter had ever crawled from the diseased mind of man. They threw me in with the others then. Thousands of us, all with minds on fire, crammed into cells that stank of piss and desperation. Oikonomaios. I remember his eyes as they shoved me into the arena. There was no recognition there, just the dull glaze of a man who knew he was already dead. The nails sang, and I tore him apart. I ripped him to pieces with my bare hands, and I enjoyed it. When I came back to myself, when I realized what I'd done, they say my howl lasted for days. Maybe it did. Maybe I'm still howling, somewhere deep inside where the nails can't reach. In that moment, as Oikonomaios' blood cooled on my skin, I made a vow. I'd escape this hell, and when I did, I'd make every last one of those high-riding scum pay. In blood, in pain, in screams that would echo until the stars went dark. Let them think they've broken me. Let them gloat over their perfect weapon. I'll show them what true hatred can do. When I'm done here, there shall be nothing left but the stillness of death and the hollow stares from a mountain of corpses. My name spread across this shithole of a world like a plague, whispered in taverns and screamed in arenas. Under my hand, the gladiators of our little slice of hell became legends. Unstoppable, they called us, as if that meant a damn thing when you're still wearing chains. I had tried to run, again and again, but you can't outrun an entire world, not alone. That was the lesson beaten into me, carved into my flesh with every failed attempt. But I learned something else too. Something that tasted of blood and hope. I was not alone. And when they announced the biggest bloodbath this world had ever seen, I knew. This was it. Our one chance to spit in the eye of the gods themselves. They let me plan it. Arrogant fucks. Every gladiator in our arena, one grand spectacle of death. The crowd roared, drunk on blood and wine, drowning out the sounds of true battle. And then we turned. Guards with their fancy guns never saw it coming. Freedom came at a price, always does. The streets of Dacia ran red that day, and not all the blood was theirs. But 2,000 of us made it out. 2,000 slaves who tasted freedom for the first time. Even as the hounds bayed at our heels. We ran to the mountains, my mountains, where they'd found me a lifetime ago. Eaters of cities, we called ourselves. A fine fucking name for a band of half-starved rebels. For years, we played their game. They sent armies, we sent them back in pieces. My leadership, they said, my skill. But it was the nails, singing their song of slaughter, that truly kept us alive. But you can't eat victory. Hunger gnawed at us, picked us off one by one. Attrition, that patient killer, did what armies couldn't. 1,000 left from 1,000 souls, clinging to a dream of freedom that tasted more like sand with each passing day. For Danmore, my last stand, our last stand. The Eaters of Cities, my true family, gathered around me on this ridge. 7 armies bearing down on us. 7. Might as well be 70 for all the difference it'd make. But we'd go down fighting. By all the hells, we'd make them remember the day they came for Angron and his rebels. Then he shows up. The so-called Emperor, my father, descending from the sky in a blaze of golden light, like some deity deigning to walk among mortals. Flanked by his custodies, all shiny armor and unquestioning loyalty. The bastard's been watching me. Sitting up there in his floating space palace, observing his son like I'm some sort of experiment. Now he swoops in, offering me command of a legion. The Warhounds, he calls them, made from my own flesh and blood, as if that is supposed to make any sense to me. All I have to do is abandon everything I fought for, everyone I've bled with. I laugh in his fucking face. My place is here, I tell him, gesturing to my people, my real family. With the Eaters of Cities, I'll die before I desert them. I see it in his eyes. Confusion, rejection. Bet no one's ever said no to the high and mighty Emperor before. He leaves, but I know it's not over. Men like him, they don't take no for an answer. I'm right. One moment I'm with my brothers and sisters, ready to fight and die. The next, I'm being torn apart, atom by atom. It feels like dying and being reborn. All wrong. I find myself on his ship, cold metal all around me. I scream, rage, beat my fists against unyielding walls. But it doesn't matter. None of it matters. Because down there, on that blood-soaked ridge, I can feel it. The moment my army's heart breaks. Without me, what are they? Just broken slaves playing at being warriors. I watch, helpless, as the armies of Nuceria do what they do best. They slaughter my people, to the last man, woman, and child. It feels like each death is chipping away at my soul. The mighty Angron, the unbeatable gladiator, and I can do nothing but watch from above as everything I've fought for turns to blood and dust. I watch them die, my brothers, my sisters, my real family. From up here, they look like ants being crushed under a boot. Quick, messy, final. The custodians surround me, their golden spears pointed at my chest. They're scared. Good. They should be. I don't even think, just move. My hands are around one of their necks, squeezing. Hearing bones crack is the sweetest sound I've heard since I got dragged up to this gilded prison. Then he's there, again, the Emperor, my father. His mind hits mine like a sledgehammer, and suddenly I'm on my knees, drooling like a babe. Why? I managed to spit out. Why didn't you save them? He looks at me, like I'm something he scraped off his boot, talks about vision and reuniting the galaxy. You'll understand in time, he says, like he's explaining something to a particularly slow child. I laugh. It's a broken sound. I was supposed to die down there, with them. This, I gesture at myself, this is just a ghost. "A ghost will suffice," he replies, cold as the void. In that moment, I know I'll never forgive him. Never. This wound, this betrayal, it'll fester, rot me from the inside out, and one day it'll consume everything he's built. They bring my sons to me after that, the Warhounds. I kill the first one that approaches me, and the second, and the third. Their blood on my hands feels right, feels like home. They learn, eventually, to fear me, to worship me from afar. It's not enough. It'll never be enough. Ibram Greer, Legion Master of the Warhounds. Another face I couldn't be bothered to remember until he wasn't there anymore. 7. That's how many of these gene-forged officers Khan tore through before he came for me. Captain of the 8th Assault Company walked into my quarters with their blood still wet on his hands, Greer's included. I nearly killed him. Would have, if he'd had the sense to stay down. But he kept getting up. Again and again. Reminded me of, well, of times best left buried. Of brothers long dead. He talked about rituals and traditions, about honor, but it was the way he spoke. It triggered something in me. I saw my old gladiator brothers in these warriors. So I took charge, killed and buried the Warhounds, and birthed the World Eaters. My own little joke. Some whelp named Dregger sealed it, looked me in the eye and promised they'd be the Eaters of Worlds. Ballsy, stupid, but ballsy. And so we rode the wave of the Great Crusade. Victory after victory, each one paid for in blood and screams, just the way I liked it. They whispered, of course, said I was too extreme, too savage, as if there was such a thing in this butcher's game we were playing. Damn hypocrites. We cut a swathe across the stars, me and my World Eaters, feasting on battlefields, growing fat on destruction. And with each world that fell, I felt that old wound throb. The one the Emperor gave me, the one that would never heal. They strapped me down like a rabid dog. Me, a Primarch, treated like a piece of broken machinery. In the apothecarian of the Adamant Resolve, they poked and prodded. Malcador put me under with a thought. Even in sleep, I could feel them rooting around in my skull. 7 fucking hours of violation. When I came to, the truth hit harder than any blow I'd taken in the pits. The nails, my constant companions, my tormentors, my very essence. They'd rewritten me, body and soul. Serotonin, some chemical that's supposed to keep you sane. The nails choked it off, replacing it with a flood of adrenaline and rage. A perfect killing machine, right? That's all I am to them. A weapon to be aimed and fired. But the bastards didn't account for a Primarch's brain. Too complex, they said. The nails were eating away at my mind, my reason. They can't take them out, not without killing me. So here I am, a ticking time bomb of transhuman flesh, my own body trying to heal what can't be fixed, while the nails dig deeper, hungrier with each passing day. They say it'll kill me eventually, that my mind will rot away until there's nothing left but the rage. They thought I was asleep. Fools. The nails never let me truly rest. I heard them, Velcaradar and his ilk, whispering over my prone form. How long, they wondered. How long before the nails finish what they started? A scroll came. I smelled the Aquila's scent, heard the rustle of parchment. The Emperor's words, no doubt. Silence, they said. Bury the truth. as if reality could be denied by will alone. My sons, I felt their shame, their disappointment. A Primarch who couldn't even conquer his own world. If they only knew the real shame. The things in my skull that would render all their genetic perfection meaningless. World Eaters, they called themselves now. For me, the irony wasn't lost. The world being eaten was inside my head, one synapse at a time. Another mech boy arrived, someone named Land. They thought I was out cold as they poked and prodded, discussing my cruciaman like it was some fascinating puzzle rather than the instrument of my torment. I wanted to laugh, to roar, to tear them all apart with my bare hands. But I lay there, a Primarch playing possum, listening to the greatest minds of the age discuss how best to study my inevitable destruction. In that cold, sterile lab, I don't think they were trying to save me. They were simply documenting my fall. I hear them talking, these so-called geniuses, hexarchinvolts, moral threats. This Land fellow, he's seen something like my nails before, but never quite like this. Never so refined in its cruelty. Of course, the ones in my head would be special. They speak of limbic lobes and insular cortexes. Big words for a simple truth. I'm fucked, rewired. A weapon honed to a razor's edge, with no off switch. Pleasure? Gone. Joy? A fading memory. All I've got left is rage, sweet, burning rage, the only thing that doesn't hurt. And by all the hells, everything hurts. Thinking, feeling, breathing. It's all agony, except for the anger. That's the only time I feel alive. The only time the pain recedes, even if just for a fleeting moment. They marvel at how I've survived this long, as if I had a choice, as if death would be merciful enough to take me. They whisper about higher brain functions, about how the nails have dulled my mind. They don't understand. My mind's never been clearer. Strip away all the bullshit, all the pretense, and what's left? Rage. Pure, undiluted rage. The Emperor's voice confirms what I already know. The nails are part of me now, threaded through my brain, coiled around my spine like some metal parasite. But that's not the worst of it. No, before they put this infernal device in, they had to hollow me out first. My limbic lobe, my insular cortex, is gone, carved away. The parts that made me, me. I want to cry, but I can't. That has been erased. I'm not even alive anymore, not really. It's the nails keeping this corpse of a Primarch moving. A puppet dancing on strings of pain and rage. And the Emperor, in all his infinite wisdom, decides I'm still useful, still able to fulfill my purpose. A compromised Primarch is still a Primarch, he says. I can almost taste the disappointment in his voice. Sorry to inconvenience you. Father, sorry this broken toy isn't quite what you wanted. But a world of ash and fire. They gave me free rein, no babysitting by my brothers, no quality time with dear old Dad, just me and an army of killers wearing my face. I took that freedom and forged it into a weapon. The old warhounds, gone, weak, soft. In their place, I built something new, something terrible. Discipline, training, piss on that. I gave them war. Real war, blood and pain and the screaming of torn flesh. The training grounds became killing fields, every exercise a dance with death. I watched them fight in the pits, these sons, saw the light of understanding dawn in their eyes as they finally understood what it meant to be truly alive. to exist on the edge between life and death. Live rounds, bare blades. The weak died, and the strong, they transformed. Something closer to me. Each scar a lesson written in flesh. Each death a stepping stone to perfection. We were the World Eaters now. If only they knew how apt that name would become. We weren't just conquering worlds anymore. We were devouring them, consuming everything in our path. I saw the fear in the eyes of the other legions, the disgust, the judgment. Let them judge, let them fear. We were becoming something beyond their comprehension, a force of nature, a storm of blood and fury that would reshape the very core of the Imperium. Pain, it's all I know, all I am. So why shouldn't my sons share in this gift? I ordered it done. The butcher's nails for every last one of them. Let them taste what I taste. Let them know the exquisite agony of existence. Joy, peace, luxuries I can't remember. Why should they have what I've been denied? In battle, only in battle do we find purpose. Let the nails strip away everything else. I watched as they studied my implants, fools fumbling in the dark, trying to recreate something they couldn't begin to understand. I could have told them it was hopeless, but then hope is for the weak. Galan Serlak, that butcher in an apothecary's robes. He tried. By all the hells he tried. 100% mortality rate, music to my ears. Let them all die trying to become like me. Every failure a lesson written in blood and brain matter. They looked at me with fear, my sons. Good. They should fear me. Fear is the beginning of wisdom. And wisdom is knowing that we're all just meat for the grinder. Weak. All of them. So fucking weak. Not one could survive the nails. Not one worthy of being called my son. So I left, stole a ship, and disappeared into the void. Let them search. Let them wonder. 2 years I spent on that backwater world. 2 years of blessed violent simplicity. Just me and the endless hunt for a death that wouldn't come. No legion, no emperor, no grand fucking crusade. Just blood and pain and the hope that maybe, just maybe, I'd find something strong enough to end me. Then Khan showed up. Khan with his words sharper than any blade. He spoke of Nuceria, of my brothers and sisters long dead, dared to say they'd be ashamed of what I'd become. Shame, as if I had any left to feel. But his words, they wormed their way in, past the nails, past the rage, made me remember, made me feel. Damn him for that. So I went back, told myself I'd make them strong, make them worthy, even if it killed them all. And oh, how we killed. System after system crumbled before us. Some didn't even put up a fight. Just the whisper of our name was enough to make worlds kneel. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it tasted like ash. Arigata, another world, another slaughter. But this time, we had an audience. Gilliman, the great Robot fucking Gilliman, Mr. Perfect himself, come to see how real warriors fight. Oh, he saw all right. Saw the mountain of our dead we used to breach that citadel. Saw what we did to those inside. I watched his face, saw the disgust, the horror. It was beautiful. He called it a bloodbath, an atrocity. As if war could be anything else. As if you could dress up murder in pretty words and make it noble. They started calling me the Red Angel after that. Cute. As if I needed another fucking title. As if I wanted to be compared to that mutant freak Sanguinius. Angel? What a joke. There are no angels in this galaxy. Just monsters wearing different masks. They think they're insulting me with these names, these titles. They don't understand. I wear them like armor, like the scars on my body and the nails in my skull. I am Angron. I am the Eater of Worlds, the Red Angel, the nightmare that keeps even demigods awake at night. 31 hours. That's all I gave them. 1 Nucerian day. The time it took me to carve my greatest victory back on that red sand. Was it too much to ask? For my sons to be as strong as the brothers and sisters I left behind. Failure after failure, world after world, never fast enough, never brutal enough. So I taught them, the only way I knew how. Decimation. Such a clean word for such a dirty business. 1 in 10. Chosen by lot. Killed by their brothers. A lesson written in blood and brotherhood betrayed. I watched them. Saw the pain in their eyes as they beat their brothers to death. Saw the anger, the resentment. Good. Let them hate me. Hate makes you strong. Hate keeps you alive. But even hate has its limits. Another world, another failure. I gave the order, same as always. But this time was different. The breaking point. That moment when loyalty shatters and something darker takes its place. One of the veterans, I don't even remember his name. He looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw it. The same fire that burned in my own gut. They say the nails have driven me mad. Maybe they're right. But in that moment, I saw a different kind of madness. The kind that changes worlds, that topples empires. Genna, another fucking backwater, another stain on the galaxy's ass. 1,000 souls in life pods, more machine than man. The kind of abomination the Emperor claims to hate. Ironic that. They bent the knee at first. Smart. But not smart enough to stay that way. When we came back, they'd grown a spine and something else. Something that stank of tech heresy and old nightmares. Negotiations? Please. I gave the order. 31 hours. 1 Nucerian day. Conquer or die. Simple as that. I saw the fear in their eyes. My sons, my killers. They knew what failure meant. They went in half-cocked. No support, no plan. Just a desperate need to win, to conquer, to avoid my wrath. It was beautiful, in its way. That purity of fear. I watched from orbit, counted the seconds, felt the nails singing their song of blood and pain. Part of me wanted them to fail, wanted to see them break, to push them past that final limit. The battlefield drowned in a sea of metal flesh. Swarm after swarm, endless waves of soulless things. Mago, that Terran relic, somehow pulled victory from the jaws of defeat. But victory isn't enough, never enough. 31 hours, that was the deal, that was the test. They failed. Again. 1 in 10. Let the blood flow, let the lesson be learned. But Mago, oh Mago, he found his spine at last, refused my order. I should have been angry. Instead, I laughed, decided to twist the knife, ordered him to be the executioner, He refused again. And that's when the red haze took me. I don't remember much after that. Just the satisfying crunch of ceramite under my fists, the wet sound of gene-forged flesh tearing, the screams, always the screams. Then, nothing. Darkness, silence for the first time in years, blessed silence. When I woke, they told me what happened. The witch breeds, the librarians, Varius and his mindfuckers, they dared to use their powers on me, to force me under. Meanwhile, Surlak had cracked the code of the nails, used the very tech of our enemies to spread my curse to my sons. Margot, the old fool, tried to stop it, whined to Khan about the dark direction of our legion. But you can't stop the tide, can't fight evolution. Khan was the first, my favorite son, finally understanding true rage. 1,000 more followed. 1,000 minds set aflame, 1,000 hearts beating to the rhythm of violence. And me, I led them back to Genna, back to the world of lies and metal men. Oh, how we danced, how we sang, a symphony of chain axes and bolters, of screams and shattering metal. The nails sang in all of us now, a chorus of fury that drowned out everything else. Numbers? Meaningless. Strategy? A joke. We were the storm, the flood, the unstoppable force of nature. We were what the Emperor had always meant us to be. Weapons of mass destruction. Surlak, that twisted genius, he cracked their code, traced the puppeteer's strings. And what did we find at the end of that thread? 1,000 withered husks in life pods, the last true Gennans, playing God with their metal toys. I watched as they begged, pleaded, as if words could save them now, as if anything could stem the tide of blood and rage we'd become. Khan, my magnificent, brutal son. I saw the disdain in his eyes as he spoke. The galaxy belongs to the Imperium. Such pretty lies. We both knew the truth. The galaxy belongs to whoever's strong enough to take it. And then, the slaughter. It was perfect. 1,000 minds snuffed out. 1 billion metal puppets falling limp. It was everything I'd ever wanted, everything I'd ever dreamed. But even as we reveled in our victory, I could feel it. The discord, the cancer in our ranks, Margot, that relic of a bygone age, he and his conspirators thinking they could save us, as if we weren't exactly what we were meant to be. They plotted in shadows, whispering of subduing us, of dragging us before the Emperor for judgment. Fools, all of them. Don't they understand? There's no going back, no redemption. We are the butcher's nails now. We are rage incarnate, and you can't judge a force of nature. I watched as Khan faced him. Margot fell, of course. They always fall. The others surrendered then. Smart. Or maybe just delaying the inevitable. I looked at them, these sons who dared defy me, and felt nothing. No rage, no disappointment. Just the cold certainty that they'd never truly understand. We purged Genna that night, burned it clean of life, of memory, of hope. They say the death screams echoed across the stars. Good. Let the galaxy hear. Let them know what's coming. But the noose around us was tightening. The so-called Terran Council called for our heads. And Russ, that loyal dog, that Emperor's pet, coming to heal us, to bring us to heal. Malkoya, a dead field outside a dead city. Fitting. My sons, my beautiful, broken sons, stood in ragged lines, blood-soaked, battle-worn, perfect. And there he was, Leman fucking Russ, the wolf boy, all shiny armor and self-righteousness. I stood before him, Widowmaker in hand, my first axe, my truest companion. Blood dripped from fresh wounds, but I barely felt them. The nails sang too loudly for pain to matter. I could smell the uncertainty on his wolves. Not so sure of themselves now, were they? "Brother," Russ called me, as if we were family. He spoke of duty, of honor, of the Emperor's will. Pretty words, empty words. "Fuck off, wolf," I spat. "Not happening, brother. I've got orders, and by the Allfather, you're going to hear them. End the surgeries," he said. "End the massacres. Return to Terra like good little soldiers. Let them fix us. That all, puppy," I growled, my grip tightening on Widowmaker. I felt the tension in the air, the nails singing their song of blood and glory. And then, chaos. No one knows who fired first. Doesn't matter. We clashed, my world eaters and his space wolves. It was pure. Everything we'd become. Everything we were meant to be. In the end, both sides claimed victory. Both sides lied to themselves. There are no victories in war, only survivors. But one thing was clear. We wouldn't be going back to Terra. Wouldn't be letting them fix us. The nails would stay. The blood would flow. Let the Emperor turn a blind eye. Let him pretend we're still his loyal dogs. We know better. We've tasted true freedom, true purpose. Blood rights, gladiatorial combats, skull-taking. This is who we are now. This is what we've become, and it feels right. They whispered about us, my brothers, voiced their concerns to the Emperor like children tattling to their father. And what does our great and glorious leader do? Sends Horus, his golden boy, his most trusted son, fucking hilarious. I saw Horus coming, all charm and charisma. But beneath that polished exterior, I smelled something different, something familiar. The scent of betrayal, of ambition, of chaos. He spoke to me of the Emperor's failings, of Nuceria, of all the wounds that never healed. And you know what? Every word tasted like truth. The Emperor, that golden lie, that false god. He was weak, always had been. A weakling playing at being a conqueror. And Horus? Horus understood. Horus had vision. Istvan III, the place where pretense died and truth was born in blood. Horus finally showed his hand. About fucking time. But his plan, virus bombs and orbital strikes, cowards' weapons. I spat at the thought. They say the death scream of those billions was louder than the Astronomicon. It was still music to my ears. But some survived, our loyal brothers, Tarvitz and his ilk, scurrying like rats in the ruins. Horus wanted to finish them from orbit, clean, surgical, bloodless. Fuck that. I took my sons, 50 companies strong, and we dropped right into that meat grinder. Defied Horus? Maybe. But we answered to a higher calling now, the call of blood and skulls. We hunted our own, brother against brother. No more pretending, no more playing at being heroes. Just the pure, honest truth of blade meeting flesh. I saw the outrage in Horus's eyes as we made planetfall. Let him rage, let him plot. We were beyond his control now, beyond anyone's control. The plaza ran red that day. We purposefully carved through our former brothers. Their loyalty, their honor, meaningless in the face of our fury. Horus had to support us then. No choice. Couldn't risk orbital fire with us in the mix, forced to get his hands dirty at last. Ankle deep in the blood of those I once called brothers, I felt more alive than I'd ever been. We are weapons, and like weapons, we don't discriminate. We just kill and destroy. After all, it's all we're good for, isn't that right, Father? 2 months of glorious slaughter. Horus ordered us to salvage victory, as if victory was ever the point. This was about blood, about truth. I watched our loyal brothers dwindle, saw the light fade from their eyes as they realized the truth. There is no loyalty, no honor, only survival and death. We threw everything at them. Wave after wave of my world eaters frothing at the mouth, nails singing their song of carnage, and still those stubborn fuckers held on. I almost respected them for it. Almost. The air cleared finally. Horus got his precious orbital strikes. Didn't matter now. As if anything mattered beyond the blood and the skulls and the endless, magnificent violence. I looked over at my sons, covered in gore, eyes wild with the thrill of slaughter. From now on, there is only war, only blood, only the next kill and the one after that. Lorgar, pious, preaching Lorgar. Who knew the bastard had it in him? Kalth burned. The Ultramarines, those blue-armored paragons of virtue, brought low. It was grand, a masterpiece of destruction that even I had to admire. But that was just the appetizer. The main course, that was ours. 26 worlds, 26 jewels in Gilliman's precious crown. We tore through them like a chain axe through flesh. No precision, no strategy, no thinking, just pure, unrestrained violence. Lorgar spoke of rituals, of a ruin storm that would split the galaxy. Every world we burned, every life we ended fed that storm. A hurricane of souls and suffering that would cut Ultramar off from their precious Imperium. It wasn't just the storm that was being fed. Through the endless bloodshed, something greater had awakened. I felt it growing within me. A connection to some great, no, immense being. Something that understood, that approved. Armatura, another world, another bloodbath. The Ultramarines thought they were clever, luring us into their trap, as if being buried alive could stop the likes of us. I clawed my way out of the rubble, tasting blood and dust. Gorechild, my faithful axe, lay broken, useless. I cast it aside without a second thought. Weapons come and go. The rage remains. Khan, loyal Khan, he picked it up, risked my wrath to save a piece of metal. Sentimental fool. The nails were biting deeper with each passing day. My thoughts fragmenting, reality blurring at the edges. Pain, constant fucking pain. Lorgar noticed. Of course he did. Always watching, always analyzing. He spoke of accelerated degeneration, of time running out. But he didn't understand. None of them did. I simply didn't care. This wasn't about survival anymore. I welcomed death, longed for it even. I just had to find someone strong enough to grant it. Let the nails kill me. Let my mind unravel. In the end, all that matters is the blood, the skulls, the endless glorious carnage. I saw doubt in Lorgar's outlook. Fear for me? For himself? It didn't matter. Fear is just another flavor of weakness. New Syria. Home, sweet. Fucking home. Lorgar dragged me back, spouting nonsense about saving my life. But why? I asked him, spitting blood. What's the point? My life's worth less than a cockroach's. At least a roach knows what it is. I laughed then. My skull, though. Now that might be worth something. Stick it on a pike. Use it as a paperweight. Hell, give it to Khorne himself. At least then I'd be useful. But the dense word-bearer wasn't having any of it. His eyes burned with that zealot's fire, made me want to gouge them out. You don't understand, brother, he said. You're meant for greater things, immortality, godhood. I laughed again. What else could I do? Godhood? I'm already a god, you fool. The god of nothing, the god of pain and broken dreams. What more could I possibly ask for? But the bastard wouldn't listen. Kept talking about potential and destiny and other shit that meant nothing to a man with nails in his brain and blood on his hands. What about vengeance, brother? Lorgar's voice cut through the haze of pain and rage. I blinked, trying to focus. The nails were singing their usual song of blood and skulls. What about it? I managed, my voice a low growl. Well, Lorgar said, eyes still gleaming with that zealot's fire. How about we take this shithole of a world and burn it to the fucking ground? You and me, brother. Together. What do you say? I stared at him for a long moment, feeling the rage build in my gut. That I can get behind, I whispered. Desh Elika Ridge. Their bones still there, my brothers and sisters. Sun-bleached and wind-scoured. It all came crashing back as I knelt in the dust, tasting ash and old regrets. The nails bit deeper, drowning out the ghosts. Deshia, the city that owned me, owned us all. I walked its streets, a god among ants, and listened to their lies. They said I ran, said I abandoned my people, left them to die while I saved my own skin. Rage, pure unstoppable rage, swept through me until it saturated every cell of my being. The nails sang louder, pushing me onward in my relentless hunt for blood and skulls. Kill them all, I said. Every last fucking one of them. Men, women, children. Wipe this stain from the galaxy. My sons obeyed without question. Screams filled the air, a chorus to match the howling in my skull. But it wasn't enough. The planet, I growled. Kill everything. Burn it. Scour it clean. As Nuceria burned, as billions died screaming, I felt whole. This was justice. This was truth. The sky split open, and out poured vengeance in ultramarine blue. Gilliman, that pompous, perfect prick, he'd finally caught up to us. 41 ships, a ragtag bunch of bruised and battered toys, but dangerous all the same. I watched from the surface as the void lit up. The courage above all, what a fucking pretentious name, led the charge. Lances of energy crisscrossed the black, painting pretty pictures of destruction. They came for Lorgar's Fidelitas Lex, of course. Predictable. But they wanted my conqueror too. Wanted to board her, to take her. Lotara Sarin, that mad bitch of a shipmaster, she gave them hell. I could almost hear her screaming orders, turning void space into a graveyard of broken ships and frozen corpses. But Guilliman, he wasn't just here for a void dance. No, this was personal. I could taste his rage from here, smell his need for vengeance. They came in waves, drop pods, landers, gunships, a rain of ceramite and righteous fury. Some burned up in the atmosphere, others were swatted from the sky by our guns. But enough got through, always enough. I stood on the blasted surface of Nuceria, grinning as the sky fell. Time to show them what real hatred looks like. Time to paint this world in two colors, red and ultramarine. Let Guilliman's boys try their luck on the ground. They thought they knew vengeance? They thought they knew rage? The dance of death began in earnest. Blue versus red, loyalty versus freedom. The blue boys, always so orderly, so predictable, establishing footholds, securing positions. We showed them a different way. My world eaters crashed against their lines. The nails sang, of course, numbing everything but the joy of killing. For every position they took, we overran two more. Their defenses crumbled under our axes, under the sheer weight of our unrestrained fury. Lorgar's boys joined the fray, chanting their nonsense, waving their corpse banners. Always with the theatrics, but effective, I'll give them that. The Ultramarines fought well, but rage made them sloppy, made them more like us. They hungered for vengeance, for Kalth, for their precious burning star. Above us, the Void War raged on. Somehow I sensed the death of the Fidelitas Lex, Lorgar's precious cathedral ship, now a floating coffin. The Ultramarines bled for every inch, but they were winning. Not that it mattered. The real war was here, on the ground, written in skulls and broken bones. I waded through the carnage, my axes humming. Every Ultramarine that fell was a tribute. Every word-bearer that died was a bonus. This world would burn, and from its ashes something new would rise. I found myself atop a mountain of corpses. My eyes swept the landscape. Everywhere warriors in blue and red tore each other apart. I burst out laughing. This beautiful carnage brought me a great sense of tranquility. It felt good, damn good. If you ever wonder how to live a serene life, I pretty much answered it for you. Start killing, keep killing, never stop killing. Above me, the Fidelitas Lex writhed in its death throes. Salvation pods streamed out from the dying Leviathan. Humans, always running, always afraid. I spat on the ground. Let them run. Let them hide. Death would find them all in the end. Additional Ultramarines made planetfall. The first pods hammered home, cracking the earth. Out they poured, all pride and precision. But we were waiting. My world eaters, those not lost to the nail's sweet song, saw what I saw. These weren't the pristine warriors we'd faced on Armatura. No, these were something different. Their armor was scorched, dented, blood-stained. I saw something I recognized. Fury, Guilliman's perfect sons, brought low by war. Welcome to the real world, boys. My attention was drawn elsewhere. Guilliman and Lorgar, brother against brother. No speeches, no dramatic posturing, just raw, brutal combat. Power fists against war maul, The clash of their weapons sent ripples of energy across the battlefield, but neither spared a glance for the lesser beings dying around them. I watched, fascinated despite myself. Guilliman, all rage and righteousness. Lorgar, denial written in every line of his body. This wasn't just about Ultramar, this was personal. Their movements were too fast for even my enhanced senses to fully track. A blur of gold and blue and crimson. Guilliman landed a blow that would have shattered a mountain. Lorgar answered with a burst of his witchcraft, then followed up with his Crozius. The sound of it connecting with Guilliman's head was like a cannon shot. I felt a grin stretch across my face, tasting blood, mine or someone else's, I couldn't tell. I didn't think. Didn't need to. I hurled myself at Guilliman. No finesse, just pure animalistic fury. I drove him back step by step, my chainswords howling for his blood. Then it happened. A glancing blow. His fist connected with my chest. I heard it before I felt it, the sickening crunch of one of my trophies shattering. Time slowed. I watched, helpless, as Guilliman's boot came down. The skull, my brother's skull, crushed to dust beneath his heel. A gate guarding ancient truths cracked inside me. Something arcane, deeper than the nails spilled forth. A howl tore from my throat, a sound of such anguish it seemed to shake the very foundations of reality. I threw myself at him, beyond reason, beyond any thought, just pain and fury given flesh. And then the sky split open. Lorgar's voice, chanting, the air thick with the stench of the warp, and blood raining from the heavens, the ghosts of 100 murdered worlds weeping crimson tears. Pain, not the familiar bite of the nails, but something more. Lorgar's voice, a distant echo, calling to things best left unnamed. My muscles locked, my blood turned to fire. I screamed, not in rage, but in agony beyond anything I'd ever known. My body tore itself apart, grew, changed. This was perfection? After a lifetime of torture, this was my reward? Through the haze of pain, I felt something else. The librarians, those witch-breed bastards. I could sense their feeble attempts to stop what was happening, to save me. Their psychic construct, this communion, tried to wrench my soul from my body. I felt them grappling with Lorgar in the warp, a battle of wills I barely understood. But Lorgar was stronger than any of us had ever given him credit for. He crushed their pathetic attempt like swatting flies. It was done. The pain receded, replaced by power. Raw, unbridled power that made the nails seem like something out of a children's book. I turned my attention to the librarians, the ones who'd caused me so much pain over the years. Now they dared to attack Lorgar, my brother, who'd given me this gift. I saw him there, crouched and bleeding, wounded, yes, but triumphant. He'd done what the Emperor never could. He'd set me free. A growl rose in my throat, a sound no human vocal cords could produce. The librarians would pay. They would all pay. This was my ascension, my apotheosis, and I would celebrate it in the only way I knew how. With blood, with skulls, with glorious, unending slaughter. I turned my gaze to the librarians, those weak links in my legion's chain. Their deaths were exquisite. Each one tasted a different doom, their witch-breed powers useless against the might of a newborn god. Good riddance. The last vestige of the Warhounds was purged. We were truly the World Eaters now, Khorne's chosen. I could feel his approval, a copper taste on my tongue. Guilliman fled. Run, brother. Run and tell your corpse god what you've seen here today. We purged Nuceria. Every last human life snuffed out, a fitting end for a world that had birthed so much misery. I didn't spare it a second thought as we left its corpse behind. Back on the Conqueror, my first words in this new form came easily. "Khan," I growled, my voice a sound of grinding bones and spilling gore. "Kill the slaves, all of them. Build me a throne of skulls." He grinned, understanding perfectly. This was our truth now. Blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. The Dark Mechanicum's gift, the Black Blade, thrummed with energy in my grip. A weapon worthy of a demon Primarch. Freedom, sweet fucking freedom. We carved our own path of carnage across the stars, ignoring Horus's bleating calls. What did we care for his grand plans? We had ascended beyond such petty concerns. Then came Perturabo, the Lord of Iron, Horus's errand boy, sent to drag us back into the fold. Deluge, a world of corpses, our latest masterpiece. The Iron Warriors found us there amidst mountains of the dead. We gave them a proper welcome. We clashed, demon versus demigod. His endurance was impressive. I'll give him that. But his words, oh, his words cut deeper than I like to admit. "Born a slave," he spat, "and you'll die one, slave to darkness for all eternity." The bastard had planned well. His Iron Warriors rained death from above, his robotic bodyguards a wall of unyielding metal. For a short fleeting moment I tasted something I'd thought long forgotten: defeat. Then salvation came from an unexpected quarter, Ultramarines. Here for revenge. I laughed, tasting blood and madness. "We're all going to die now," I growled, relishing the thought. But Perturabo, clever, cruel Perturabo, wasn't buying what I was selling. Instead, he reminded me of Nuceria, of watching my brothers and sisters die while I could do nothing. Something snapped, or perhaps something finally clicked into place. With a thought, I tore open the fabric of reality. The warp answered my call, hungry and eager. We fled, Iron Warriors and World Eaters alike, leaving the Ultramarines to gnash their teeth in impotent rage. Terror, so close. The end of all things within our grasp. And yet, Horus, that golden fool, denied me, denied us. The Death Guard would lead the assault. Pathetic. Rage. It consumed me, drove me through the bowels of the Conqueror. I killed indiscriminately, reveling in the slaughter. What did it matter who died? We all die, eventually. I sensed Lotara's fear. Clever girl, always thinking ahead. But her schemes, oh, her schemes were delicious. The Night Lord's maze, a fitting arena for a god of war. And Khan, my son, my equerry, my would-be usurper. "The dark gods whisper, Khan," I growled. "They speak of your destiny. Chosen of Khorne, they call you." I saw the conflict in his eyes. Pride, fear, determination. "But they're wrong," I continued, hefting my axes. "There can only be one true champion of the blood god, and it will be me." We clashed, demon versus Astartes. But he was still mortal, still limited. I toyed with him, savoring each blow, each drop of blood spilled. But then, treachery, a familiar sting, teleportation. As reality warped around me, I saw Khan's face, resolve, regret, and something else, hope. I roared as I materialized in the bowels of the nightfall. They thought to contain me, to control me. Naive children, all of them. A fucking maze. Per Tarabo's handiwork, no doubt. The bastard always did love his little puzzles. I raged through its corridors, each turn making less sense than the last. Walls that shouldn't be there, paths that led nowhere. It was maddening, even for me. Is this meant to contain me? I roared to the uncaring walls. I will not be caged. Not again, never again. But the labyrinth didn't care. It twisted and turned, defying logic, defying reality itself. Time lost all meaning. Had it been hours, days, years? The nails were gone. But this was a new kind of torture. Then suddenly, freedom. Not escape, but expulsion. I felt myself being hurled into the void towards Terra. As I entered Terra's atmosphere, I became fire incarnate, a meteor of rage and hatred screaming towards the planet that had birthed our species, towards the false emperor who had started all of this. Impact. The ground shattered beneath me, friend and foe alike crushed by my arrival. As the dust settled, I rose, a colossus of blood and ceramite. With the black blade in my hands, I carved into the loyalist forces, their bodies nothing but kindling for the fire of my rage. And then, there he was, Sanguinius, the angel, my brother. "Face me!" I roared. "Let's settle this brother to brother." But the coward merely saluted. Fucking saluted. "Not today, Angron," he said, his voice calm amidst the chaos. "Our dance is yet to come." Prick. He retreated behind the palace walls, protected by lingering magic. I howled in frustration, unable to pursue. The siege raged on. I tore through their defenses like paper. A capital imperialis, crushed beneath my feet. A leviathan transport, ripped apart with my bare hands. But still, those damned walls stood, until they didn't. The Lion's Gate fell, and with it, the last of the Emperor's shield. We poured onto the Eternity Wall, my world eaters and I, drunk on blood and victory. I felt the Dark God's blessings coursing through me, making me stronger, faster, deadlier. We were unstoppable, inevitable. As we breached the palace walls, its defenders reeked of fear. They knew, they all knew, this was the end. I raised the black blade high, its glow casting crimson shadows across my twisted form. "Blood for the blood god!" I bellowed. My sons echoed the cry, a roar that shook the very heavens. My black blade tasted the blood of eternity, clearing a path into the heart of the Imperium. Khan was there, always at my side, and so was Sanguinius. We met in the air, my brother and I, beneath a sky weeping blood. Each breath tasted of death, of destiny. Our blades clashed, a sound to shatter worlds. Below, our sons danced their own dance of death, but they were shadows to us now, insignificant. I swung the black blade, its hungry steel keening for Sanguinius's soul. But the angel, the fucking angel, was always just out of reach, twisting, soaring, mocking me with every graceful move. Rage boiled in my veins. The nails bit deep. Each missed strike was agony, each failed grasp a torment. I was strength incarnate, a god of war, and yet I couldn't touch him. Horus's voice echoed in my skull, urgent, pleading, begging for the angel's death. Horus begging, the thought made me sick. We plummeted earthward, Sanguinius leading our deadly dance. Volkite beams lanced the sky, explosions blooming around us. They blackened his armor, scorched his wings. Me? They only made me stronger. Every death below fed me, sealed my wounds, tightened my grip on this reality. I was more than Angron now, more than a Primarch. I was devastation given form, vengeance made flesh. And yet the angel still eluded me. He senses it, veers away with impossible grace. His sword flashes silver against the blood-red sky. My face, gone, cut away. But there's no pain, not the way mortals feel it. It's weakness, intolerable. I thrash blindly, the black blade seeking flesh. My eyes regenerate, the world coming back in a flood of soul fire. And there he is, blazing like a beacon. We collide in a fury of claws and wings. I drag Sanguinius from his precious sky, relishing his struggle as we plummet. The world blurs, wind screaming past us until we crash through glass and stone. We land hard, rolling across a mosaic floor. Some holy symbol of the Mechanicus shatters beneath us. Fitting. There's nothing sacred in this war. I get my claws around his head, bash it against the floor. Once, twice, 3 times. The stone cracks. 4, 5. Each impact a symphony of violence. Then, weakness. My arm dissolves, melting away like mist. The angel rises, a weapon in his hands. Infernus, a melter pistol. One shot designed to turn even a Primarch to ash. He discards it. Fool, noble, honorable fool. Sanguinius takes to the air again, diving at me with that shining sword. But I'm ready. I can feel his strikes before they land, like whispers of fate. Our blades meet again and again. A dance older than time. Brother against brother. Angel against demon. Is this what you want, brother? I growl, parrying another thrust. To die here in this temple to false gods? Metal screams against metal. Sparks dance, a fleeting beauty in this hell of our making. For a heartbeat, I'm elsewhere, the plains of Deshragen. Fireflies above camp, serenity despite the nail's constant bite. Before he came, before everything went to shit, reality snaps back. Cold steel pierces my chest where a heart should be. Sanguinius, so close now. His perfect face marred by war. Imperfection on perfection. It's almost funny. Die, he whispers, gentle as a lover. I free you from this torment. I try to laugh, try to speak, but words are for men, not monsters. I'm beyond such things now. I move, but Sanguinius is quicker, always quicker. He rips his blade free and takes to the air. I follow, laughing as my blood paints the sky. We dance between temple towers, stone giants watching our deadly waltz. Then we break free into open sky. Here Sanguinius shines. Born for this, the bastard. Graceful, experienced. I'm raw power, demonic strength. But in the air, I'm a gargoyle chasing a hawk. He weaves, he soars, my claws grasp at emptiness. Then Horus speaks in my mind. 2 words, heavy with the Pantheon's power. Kill him. Behind those words, a promise. Pain. True pain. Nails pain. The kind that makes you want to tear the galaxy apart. I beat my wings harder. My sword trails souls like a comet's tail, the dead of terror wailing their last song. We skim the battlefield, so low I can smell the fear sweat of our sons below. My blade swings wide, earth splits, bodies tumble, broken things spilling their souls to the hungry warp. Suddenly, Sanguinius climbs, soars higher. Horus's voice, a whisper of destiny. I ignore it. Destinies for fools and corpses. I smell Sanguinius's fatigue. His soul fire flickers, a candle in a storm. The war's taken its toll. Good, I surge forward, pollution-thick wind screaming past. Anti-air fire stitches the sky. A stormbird thunders by. He rolls clear. Me? I plow through it. Metal shrieks. Souls burst like rotten fruit. Their terror, their pain. It's nothing. Less than nothing. The craft falls, burning. It'll crash, kill more. I don't care. All that matters is the hunt, the kill. Sanguinius tires. I can't. Horus's voice, a frightened whisper in my mind. Do not fail me, Angron. As if he still controlled anything. As if he mattered anymore. We plunge through a dying titan's death throes, smoke and plasma, but I see him, so close now, my jaws part, revealing a maw of mismatched teeth jutting from bleeding gums. A smile, if you could call it that. We dance in this inferno, choking smoke that only affects one of us. I roar, triumphant, primal, more victory than rage. For once, just once, I have him. Then, pain, real pain. His spear hurled with impossible accuracy. My mouth explodes, teeth shattering, tongue severed. It punches through my skull, turning spine to mist. I fall, boneless, stunned. The world spins, smoke and fire and blood. Impact, the royal ascension craters beneath me. Warriors die, crushed under my bulk. Their deaths mean nothing. Only the fury matters now. My sons cheer, baying like the hounds they are. But I hear nothing. I thrash, beast-like, clawing at the silver shaft. It comes free, eye-core sizzling, my flesh already knitting back together. I hurl the spear aside just as Sanguinius descends, silent, righteous, as if he's above rage, above feeling. We clash in the crater. Around us, the battle for eternity rages on. I hear my sons coming. World eaters, life takers, bloodletters. Sanguinius hears them too. I see it in his eyes. Fear, no, resignation. He hacks at me, again and again, desperate now. But it's not enough. With a crack of wings, he's airborne again. But I'm ready this time. No chase, no games. I grab the fallen spear, still slick with my own essence. Draw back, throw, it rips through the air faster than sound. A drumbeat of destiny. This is it. The moment everything changes. The spear flies true, but Sanguinius, with impossible speed, catches it, rolls, hurls it back. I reach confident, arrogant. Then, nothing but air. It hits me like a planet to the chest. I'm pinned, skewered to the ground. No pain, just shame, humiliation. By the time I free myself, he's gone. ascending. My wounds close, but slower now. The nails bite harder, punishing my weakness. Fine, if I can't catch the bird, I'll make it come to me. I turn to his sons, red-armored morsels. My blade sings as it cuts deep holes in their useless armor to reap their souls. Bodies fly, blood flows. It works. Of course, it fucking works. I hear wings before I've barely begun. I shake the dying from my blade, turn to face my brother once more. His sons fight on. Bolters, chainswords, insects stinging a god. Let them come! Let them all come! First, the angel will die. Then, the galaxy burns. We clash, steel against steel. Our blades sing a single unbroken note, beautiful in its way, a mockery of physics. Sanguinius falters. His strikes become defensive. He retreats, first by inches, then by yards. I see the realization in his eyes as I drive him back towards the eternity gate. He knows, with every moment he weakens, I don't. I let him in. His sword pierces me, a sacrifice I gladly make. Pain floods me, intoxicating, empowering. Ichor flows from my maw, my essence leaking. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters but this moment. My hand snaps around his throat. Claws dig into angelic flesh. My blade thrusts forward. It sinks into Sanguinius, slow, savoring. His perfect face twists in agony. I drink it in. His pain, his blood, the sight of those teeth bared in a grimace. It's intoxicating, pure. Even Khorne howls in pleasure at the spilling of this sacred blood. I tighten my grip on his throat, push deeper. Fresh blood bubbles from his lips. He tries to speak, manages only my name. Angron. Brother. Bitterness floods me, dredged up by the pain in those beautiful eyes. I drive the blade to the hilt, pulling him close, face to face. I smell the blood on his breath, feel it spatter my cheeks. My jaws, ill-suited for speech, force out words. Ah, the dying angel sings. Where were you, brother, when I needed you? When they took everything? Sanguinius reaches for me, weak, pathetic. I don't need to breathe. Let him grasp at my throat. But the thrill fades. Is this it? Is this how the mighty angel falls? Horus's voice cuts through my haze, panicked, afraid. Angron, release him! Too late. He grabs my cranial cables, the nails regulators. Oops, he played me. Pain. It blinds me, deafens me. I scream. The void shields ripple. I rip my blade free, grapple, hurl. But he clings on. White wings batter my face. I claw, scratch, abandoning finesse for pure animal fury. Golden armor shatters under my hands. Wings bleed, feathers rain. Sanguinius makes no sound. I launch skyward, wings beating clumsily, tumbling, desperate to shake him off. Below, our sons bleed in our shadow. I feel my skull stretching, cracking, the sound of slow, inevitable destruction. Sanguinius. I hear him now, ragged breaths, gauntlets scraping against the nails. Our eyes meet. There's no mercy there, no righteousness, just passion. Raw, unfiltered rage. He's lost himself. Pupils, pinpricks, teeth bared, veins stark against pale skin. This isn't the perfect angel. This is wrath incarnate. And I'm jealous. His fury isn't born of torment or divine command. It's pure, absolute. It feeds Khorne, sure, All bloodshed does, but this is something else. This is the angel, unchained, unbound. And for the first time in eons, I feel small. His fury, it is not like mine. Untainted where mine is filthy, devoted to nothing but justice. Beautiful, naive, perfect. Is this what we've come to? Gods brought low by our own natures. Let it end, then. Let it all end. My last coherent thought, before everything unravels. We fall together, my strength gone, his wings useless. Panic and rage war within me as I claw uselessly at him. The nails, part of me now, woven through my brain, my spine, a masterpiece of barbaric science, perfected by demonic ascension. Laughter echoes from beyond the veil. Khorne, amused by my fall, my death as pleasing as any other's. Warp fire erupts from my cracking skull, each crunch a nova of agony. Something's being torn away, ripped from the core of my being. I scream, but this time it's different. For the first time in either of my lives, I do the unthinkable. I beg. No, I grunt, shame and terror mingling in that single syllable. The ground rushes up. Now or never. A final wrenching pull. My skull explodes. Brain matter and warp fire erupting in a geyser of unholy ichor. My wings twitch, one last meaningless reflex. My claws go slack. Sanguinius breaks free. Wounded wings spread, stabilizing, climbing. My body crashes into the ground. The royal ascension shudders beneath my broken form. The red angel has fallen. Darkness closes in. The warp calls. Khorne had prepared a world for me, a playground of endless slaughter. But that wasn't enough. I had other plans. My legion fractured, torn apart by the very rage that had once forged our unity. We devolved into roving warbands, pirates, and marauders. Across the cold, black expanse of the void, we drifted on crimson tides, ever seeking more blood for the blood god and skulls for the skull throne. No home, just the endless hunt, the eternal war. Some would call it a curse, but I know better. This is freedom, true freedom. The freedom to kill, to rage, to burn the galaxy to ash. Millennia passed in the blink of an eye. Time means nothing in the warp, but the Materium still called to me. In the 38th millennium, by their reckoning, I emerged from the Empyrean, leading my forces back into the cold clarity of real space. We numbered 50,000 strong, Chaos Space Marines with armor corroded by millennia of hate, writhing demons bound to our will, and the twisted spawn of unholy unions between the two. Our fleet, a mass of corrupted metal and pulsing flesh, cast shadows across worlds that had forgotten the meaning of true fear. 2 centuries of annihilation across the corpse god's realm. 70 sectors, each a bastion of false hope, crumbled beneath our axes and were silenced by our bolters. The anguished screams of the dying became our lullaby, their futile prayers lost in the cacophony of slaughter. Burning worlds served as our nightlights, their molten cores pulsing like the heartbeats of dying giants. With each planet we broke, each soul we corrupted, our legend grew, and the Imperium trembled at the mere whisper of our approach. But the Imperium? The corpse gods' blind, stubborn lapdogs. They never learned. They came for us, their righteous fury as predictable as it was futile. 4 chapters of Space Marines, their armor gleaming with misplaced pride. 2 Titan legions and more mortal meat than I cared to count. Billions of souls ripe for the taking. For every world they reclaimed, we made them pay in rivers of blood and mountains of skulls. We turned their victories into Pyrrhic tragedies. Their heroes became our playthings, their faith shattered against the anvil of our relentless assault. But in the end, they pushed us back. Not through any virtue of their own, but through the sheer, stubborn weight of their numbers. Even as we retreated, we laughed, for we knew a fundamental truth they refused to see. In this war, even their victories served only to feed the ever-hungry maw of chaos. 90%, they say. 90% of what we'd taken returned to Imperial hands. They'll call it a victory, no doubt. Write it in their precious history books as the Dominion of Fire. Fools clinging to their delusions of triumph. But they don't understand. Can't understand. This was never about holding territory, about lines on a map or flags planted on corpse-strewn soil. It was about the fight itself, the glorious never-ending carnage that feeds my master and his colleagues. And we'll be back. Oh yes, we'll be back. Because that 10% we kept, that's not just land and resources. It's a festering wound in the bloated body of their Imperium. A cancer of corruption, seeded with our hate and nurtured by their fear. It will grow, silent and insidious, spreading through their precious sectors like a virus through veins. While they celebrate their hollow victory, our influence festers, in whispered heresies, in hidden shrines, in the nightmares of those who faced us and lived. We are the shadow at the edge of their vision, the doubt in their prayers, the tremor in their hands as they raise their laser guns. And when the time is right, when their vigilance wanes and their faith falters, we will emerge once more, not just to reclaim what was lost, but to reap a harvest 10,000-fold greater. For in the eyes of chaos, 10,000 years is but a heartbeat, and the galaxy's throat is ever exposed to our blade. But by all the hells, the road to glory and damnation is as crooked as a broken bone. My legion, once a unified force of terrifying might, once again scattered to the fickle winds of the warp. My berserkers, their minds clouded by bloodlust, were more likely to slaughter each other in frenzied rituals than to focus their rage on our true enemies. The galaxy laughed at our fall from dark grace. But then, opportunity crashed into our realm like a meteor of salvation. The devourer of stars materialized in orbit of my demon world, a behemoth of twisted metal and pulsating, corrupted flesh. Its very presence warped reality, bending the laws of physics as casually as a child snaps a twig. This was the catalyst I needed, a chance to reforge the shattered shards of my legion, to once again unite my wayward sons under a single blood-soaked banner, to give them purpose beyond mindless slaughter, to channel their rage into a focused inferno that would scorch the galaxy clean of the Corpse Emperor's influence. We boarded the Hulk, thousands upon thousands of us. The warp churned and boiled around us, a maelstrom of raw possibility and madness. Reality bent and screamed as the devourer of stars tore through the veil between dimensions. It was about damn time. The anticipation aboard the ship was more than palpable. It was a living, breathing entity. The bloodlust of my warriors seethed like a fever dream, their thoughts a cacophony of violence that echoed through the almost endless steel corridors. Demons danced at the edges of my vision, drawn to the promise of impending carnage. The air grew thick with the scent of ozone and hot metal, the ship's floors resonating with the low, hungry growl of 10,000 chain axes idling. Khorne's blessing thrummed through our veins, turning our blood to liquid fire. I could taste copper on my tongue, a phantom flavor of battles yet to come. The corners of my mouth gleamed with saliva, a primal response to the imminent slaughter. As I wiped my mouth with the back of my gauntlet, leaving a crimson smear across the ceramite, I pondered my next kill. Would it be a cowering civilian, their terror a sweet aperitif? Or perhaps an Imperial Guardsman, their faith shattering as my axe cleaved through their flak armor? No. I hungered for worthier prey. A space marine, perhaps, maybe even a blue one. Their genetically enhanced body a fitting offering to the blood god. Armageddon, a world ripe for the plucking, its defenses already crumbling from within, weakened by corruption over the last few decades. I could smell the fear, fresh on the ionized air, and the desperation wafting from the towering hives like sweet incense. The delicious chaos brewing in those steel mountains was a siren song to our twisted souls. We tore through the veil between realms, emerging from the warp like a nightmare given terrible, glorious flesh. Reality screamed and buckled around us as the devourer of stars, our chariot of unholy destruction, broke into real space. The void itself seemed to bleed at our arrival, a fitting herald for the carnage to come. The great ship disgorged its cargo of death onto the unsuspecting world. Millions of cultists, the children of sanguinary unholiness, poured forth in an unending tide of fanatic devotion. Their faith in chaos, in Khorne, in me, was intoxicating. A heady brew of adoration and blood-soaked worship that sent tremors of pleasure through my warp-touched form. Their chants echoed across the burning sky, a hymn of destruction so intense that it cracked the very foundations of the hive cities. After them followed the 12, the Crua Praetoria, Khorne's finest, his most precious killers, each a demigod of war in their own right. Their armor, black as the void and crimson as freshly spilled blood, bore the marks of 1,000 victories. Skulls of fallen champions adorned their pauldrons, silent trophies that screamed of their prowess. These were my honor guard, my inner circle in this grand slaughter. Each of the 12 radiated an aura of violence so potent it made even hardened berserkers step back in reverence. Their weapons, axes, swords, and more esoteric instruments of death pulsed with demonic energy, eager to taste the blood of this new world. As my boots touched the soil, the ground beneath me cracked and bled. I raised my blade high, its keen edge glinting in the light of burning orbital platforms. With a roar that shattered glass in nearby hab blocks, I gave the command, "Blood for the blood god! Skulls for the skull throne!" My world eaters, my sons of slaughter, they led the charge. Centuries of pent-up rage finally found its release, erupting like a volcano. Demons followed in their wake. Blood letters moved through the streets, their hellblades reaping a gory harvest. Flesh hounds bounded over barricades, tearing out throats with inspiring glee. The very air shimmered with warp energy, painting the world in hues of madness and destruction. And me, I strode among them like a colossus, a god of war. Each step cracked the rockcrete beneath my feet. Each swing of the black blade sundered reality itself. My demonic weapon sang its song of death and destruction, a melody so terrible and beautiful it drove mortals mad with its mere sound. With every kill, I felt Khorne's gaze upon me, his approval fueling my rampage. The mortals tried to resist, brave, foolish, admirable in its own pathetic way. Half their defense force turned to our side the moment we arrived, their minds shattered by the psychic weight of our assault, their souls seduced by promises of power. Smart, they would serve as cannon fodder, their deaths paving our path to greater glories. The rest learned the hard way what it means to stand against a god. Their lass fire pattered harmlessly against my armor, their tanks crushed beneath my boot like toys. I tore through their lines with ridiculous ease, each swing of the black blade claiming dozens of lives. Their death screams were a sweet chorus to my ears. As I stood atop a mountain of corpses, surveying the ruin we had wrought, I felt a savage joy I hadn't known in millennia. Armageddon was burning, and this was only the beginning. The galaxy had so much to look forward to. Victory, now tantalizingly close. The survivors fled before us, scurrying like vermin to the polluted rivers Styx and Charon, their fear a delicious aroma that filled the air. One final push, one last glorious slaughter, and Armageddon would be ours, a fitting skull for Khorne's throne. But the warp, that fickle, unfaithful mistress of chaos, betrayed us. I felt it first, a primal instinct honed by millennia of war, a weakening, a thinning of the veil between realms. The reality around us shimmered, the air tasting suddenly stale, devoid of the raw power that had fueled our rampage. The great warp storm that had carried us here on tides of blood and madness was dying, its energies dissipating like mist under a harsh sun. Reluctantly, with rage boiling in my veins hot enough to melt ceramite, I called a halt. My fist clenched around the black blade, its demon shrieking in frustration, echoing my own thwarted bloodlust. Every fiber of my being screamed to press on, to damn the consequences and claim this world in a final, glorious charge. But even in my fury, I knew the cost of being stranded in real space, cut off from the warp's sustaining energies. Centuries of war had taught me the value of bitter patience. "Build!" I commanded, my voice a growl of frustration and barely contained need that caused nearby cultists to fall to their knees in terror and ecstasy. "Build monuments to Khorne. Raise altars of skull and bone. Let rivers of blood flow in his name. Feed him. Sustain his favor. Keep us anchored here." As my warriors reluctantly halted their advance, I gazed at the distant hive cities, still standing defiant against the red sky. This was not defeat, I vowed. Merely a pit stop for refreshments and sharpening of blades. Armageddon would fall, even if we had to tear it down one skull at a time. In those equatorial jungles, we raised mountains of skulls, not mere piles, but vast, obscene structures. We anointed these grisly monuments with the blood of our prisoners, the blood of slaves, worked to death in the construction of our unholy shrines, their last breath spent in service to chaos. Even our own blood we offered freely, for in pain we found purpose, and in sacrifice, power. Sorcerers among us wove intricate rituals, their chants a constant drone. The very air shimmered with fell energies, the barrier between real space and the warp growing thin enough to see the swirling madness beyond. Demons materialized unbidden, drawn to our offerings, their presence further weakening the veil between worlds. The jungle around us began to decay. Trees withered and died, their bark peeling away to reveal weeping flesh beneath. The ground became a morass of blood-soaked mud, each step a struggle against the grasping earth that hungered for more sacrifices. Wildlife mutated, twisted into new, horrifying forms that prowled the periphery of our camps, feeding on the weak and unwary. Even out here in the wilderness, I could sense the confusion, the fear pulsing through the Imperial lines like a frantic heartbeat. Their minds, so small, so limited, couldn't fathom why we had halted our advance, why we didn't press our advantage and crush them utterly. If only they knew. If only their puny, mortal minds could comprehend the cosmic chains that bound even a demigod of chaos. Their ignorance was almost pitiable. Weeks crawled by, each fucking moment an eternity of frustration. Agonizing weeks of waiting, of building, of sacrificing. Every heartbeat was a battle against the insidious pull of the warp, fighting to maintain our tenuous anchor in this forsaken realm of flesh and matter. I felt the strain in every fiber of my being, the constant struggle to keep my demonic forces from dissolving back into the immaterium. The cruel Praetoria stood vigilant, their armor now caked with dried blood and jungle filth, yet their zeal undiminished. My mortal warriors grew restless, their blood rage barely contained. I could see the madness creeping into their eyes, the twitching of trigger fingers eager to unleash death once more. To keep them focused, I ordered raids and skirmishes, small morsels to feed their hunger for violence. I watched as my demon engines groaned and twisted, reality itself trying to reject their impossible forms. Warp smiths worked tirelessly, anointing gears with fresh blood, chanting bindings over writhing metal. The air crackled with barely contained energy. The veil between worlds stretched gossamer thin. With each skull added to our monuments, with each drop of blood spilled in Khorne's name, I felt the tide turning, the warp's grip strengthened, reality bending to our will rather than rejecting us. The very ground beneath our feet became saturated with chaos energy, the laws of physics weeping as they were rewritten. Finally, we were ready. I gave the signal, a roar that shook the earth. Twisted trees parted before us as we emerged from the jungles. In our wake, withering and transforming fleshy things followed. Their high-pitched shrieks filled the air as they scanned for something to grab. The time had come to finish what we'd started. But the humans, the clever, stubborn vermin, they'd used the time well. Where we had built monuments of bone, they had forged bulwarks of adamantium and faith. They stood ready, defiant, their lines bristling with guns, their eyes alight with a fool's courage. And with them, space wolves. The scent hit me first, that unmistakable musk of wet fur and barely contained savagery. My enhanced senses picked out their low growls, The clink of frost-covered armor, the thrum of ancient power weapons coming to life. Russ's pups come to play at being heroes. I felt a grin split my face. The expression so savage it reopened old scars. Blood, my own blood, trickled down my chin, and I savored its iron taste on my tongue. Oh, how fitting, how deliciously ironic. The attack dogs of the false emperor, still nipping at our heels after 10 millennia. My berserkers tensed, their hatred for the loyalist dogs boiling just under the surface. The Crua Praetoria shifted, moving into attack formations honed by eons of slaughter. I could feel Khorne's gaze upon us, hungry for the clash of his chosen warriors against these vaunted protectors of humanity. "Come then, little wolves," I thundered, my voice amplified by warp-touched power to echo across the battlefield. I hefted the black blade, its edge keening with the souls of 1,000 murdered wolves. The weapon's hunger resonated with my own, both of us eager to add Astartes skulls to our collection once more. "Let's see if you've learned anything in 10,000 goddamn years!" As if in answer, a howl went up from the space wolf lines, not the cry of cowed prey, but that of an apex predator that they thought they were. Good, let them come with all their fury, all their misplaced loyalty. In an instant, the world ceased its relentless spin. Everything went dead silent, as if the universe itself held its breath in anticipation. Yet within the eye of this impossible stillness, my mind worked flawlessly, thoughts cascading like a waterfall of blood and fire. Time stretched, warped by the weight of the moment. I saw futures branch and split before me, each a tantalizing promise of carnage and glory. Was this what I had waited for through long centuries of exile in the warp? Was this to be my crowning achievement, the moment when I would finally step from the shadow of my long-dead Primarch and claim my rightful place as Khorne's favored? Honestly, I had no fucking clue. But I would make damn sure this battle would carve our names into the flesh of history. That is the least I can do. With a thought, I unleashed my forces. Sound and motion came crashing back into the world as the first bolter rounds split the air and chain axes roared to life. Time lost all meaning. Was it hours? Days? It mattered not. There was only the rhythm of slaughter, the pulse of war that beat in perfect harmony, with the blood pounding in my veins. My armor, once gleaming crimson, was now a deeper red, slick with the lifeblood of innumerable foes. Every step I took left a footprint of gore. Every breath I exhaled was heavy with the mist of vaporized blood. Hive Infernus fell first, its proud spires toppling like the toys of some cosmic child. We stormed its corridors, turning its labyrinthine depths into an abattoir. Screams echoed through steel hallways as we offered every soul to the blood god. I personally tore the planetary governor's head from his shoulders, his final whimper lost in the laughter of my triumph. Infernus, Hell's Reach, names that meant nothing. In the grand scheme of the universe, they were insignificant, motes of dust on an unremarkable world, and yet each represented a glorious battle, a step towards apotheosis. They were more than mere places now. They were sacrifices, offerings, gateways through which the power of chaos flowed ever stronger into this realm. But then, something changed. Of course, something just had to go and fucking change. The universe would not let me savor the moment, not even for 5 fucking seconds. Prick. A shift in the air, subtle yet unmistakable. A tang of ozone and raw psychic power that made my demon flesh crawl, and the very reality around us quiver. The warp itself seemed to recoil, as if burned by the approach of anathema. Grey Knights. I spat the words like a curse, the taste fouler than the vilest poison. The Emperor's pet witch breeds, his silver-armored lapdogs. They were humanity's last line of defense against the truths they so desperately feared. I should have known the old wolf Grimnar would have an ace up his sleeve. The cunning bastard had played his hand well. They came at us, these Grey Knights, their nemesis force weapons blazing with sickening holy fire. The air crackled around them, reality reinforcing itself in their presence, actively resisting the touch of chaos. Their minds were razor-sharp and focused, a unified psychic beacon that seared my senses like a brand. I could feel my lesser demons shrieking in agony, some outright banished by the knight's mere presence. "Squad Castian!" their leader's voice boomed, somehow cutting through the cacophony of battle. "For the Emperor!" Cute. I felt my lips curl into a snarl, baring teeth that could rend adamantium. My knuckles turning white as I fingered the hilt of Black Blade, its bound demon howling in equal parts rage and fear. These weren't just any space marines. These were forged for a single purpose: to kill things like me, to banish demons back to the warp, to deny us our rightful conquest. For the first time since our landing, I felt a twinge of caution. The crew of Pretoria formed up around me, their armor scorched and dented, but their resolve unshaken. My berserkers howled challenges, their bloodlust overriding any sense of self-preservation. In an instant, they materialized in our midst in a storm of lightning and psychic energy, the air crackling with the stench of ozone and sanctimonious fury. I laughed, a sound born from the depths of 10,000 years of hatred and bloodshed, causing lesser demons to shriek and mortals to clutch their heads in agony. "Come then, little psychers!" I roared, hefting the Black Blade high. They came at me with all the zealotry of their kind, force halberds and storm bolters spitting death. I met them head-on, a god of war against the Emperor's finest. They fell before me, their vaunted psychic defenses crumbling under the onslaught of pure chaos. But each one fought with a conviction that was refreshing. It almost impressed me. They died well, these Grey Knights. Each death a small epic in itself. I collected their skulls with something approaching respect, knowing they would make fine offerings to Khorne. Then came Squad Castian, brave fools, thinking their faith and their training could stand against the power of a Chaos Lord Ascendant. I tore through their ceramite, the Black Blade keening in ecstasy as it drank the souls of these psyker-bred warriors. I left broken bodies and shattered minds in my wake, their once resplendent armor now twisted and charred by the touch of chaos. But one remained standing amidst the carnage, a warrior whose eyes blazed with psychic fire and grim determination. Hyperion, they called him later, the Blade Breaker. As we faced each other across the corpse-strewn battlefield, I felt a flicker of anticipation. Here, perhaps, was a challenge worthy of my millennia of warfare. Here was a foe who might, just might, make me work for my victory. I bared my fangs in a feral grin, tightening my grip on the Black Blade. "Come then, little fucker, show me what makes you special." What happened next I still can't quite believe it, even after millennia of reflection in the timeless depths of the warp. The Black Blade, my constant companion for uncounted centuries, extension of my will and vessel of a bound demon prince, began to keen. Not its usual song of slaughter, but a wail of agony that set reality trembling. I felt it resist, felt the demon within scream in defiance. Then, in a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, it shattered. My invincible weapon broke like cheap glass under the psychic assault of this lone, bleeding gray knight. Shards of impossibly sharp metal exploded outwards, slicing through armor and flesh indiscriminately. I shrieked in pain and disbelief as fragments of my own weapon embedded themselves in my flesh. A new sensation crashed into my mind. I had thought it long forgotten, burned away by the fires of chaos. Fear. Their captain, Aurelian, a warrior I had dismissed as already defeated, seized his chance. His eyes blazed with power, his voice rising in a litany that made the very air around us bleed. Without my blade, weakened by Hyperion's impossible feat, I felt the insidious pull of the warp. Not as a gateway to power, but as a hungry maw seeking to devour me. The bastard was trying to banish me, to cast me back into the realm of chaos. For the first time in eons, I prayed, not to the corpse emperor, never to him, but to Khorne, to chaos undivided, to any dark power that would listen. "Not like this!" I raged against the encroaching banishment. "Not at the hands of these silver-clad puppets!" But no one gave a shit, least of all Khorne. Defeat. Bitter, humiliating defeat.